Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 79th episode of the HSBG Podcast. I'm your host, Educatedcollins. I'm here with my constant co-host and his cat, Sadie Bunny. How you doing?
I'm all right, Collins. I'm all right. I'm a little under the weather. I think I'm coming over a flu or something like that. So my voice is a little different. That's why, but I'm doing better. So let's get started. How are you doing?
Yeah, I mean that's essentially the reason why this podcast is a little out of date, I guess, because normally we do it on Fridays, but Shay wasn't feeling good and he felt worse the day after. So I care about my uh co-hosts, I guess. Yeah, and if they're feeling bad, does it make sense to have a
The,
subpar
the
uh
voice was very. It would be like very labored, very forced to like force the words out.
yeah, and you don't want to force someone to talk 2 hours in a row nonstop in that kind of environment. That's why he streams.
Yeah, that's why I stream instead. Yeah.
It's-
I can do it to myself, but Collins can't do it to me. Yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt. It just sounds bad. I guess it sounds like it should hurt, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, but we do have a big podcast today since they released a new patch with a ton of changes, a lot of interesting changes. So that's pretty much going to be the majority of this podcast. Just going to be running down a list of changes and our thoughts. And since it's been a few days out, we should have some ideas of what's actually going on. So should be an interesting podcast for us, but no need to dilly dally. I mean, we do talk about our week. If you wanna talk about your week, you got a little lobby legends qualifier in there. You want to probably you wanna talk about that.
Oh, was that? I guess. Yeah, it's the 7th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah, I qualified. Yay. Uh, I looked. I looked at roughly all my qualifiers. I think I hit 4 out of 9.
Mhm.
With like one where I was basically in until the last 5 minutes, right? I don't know if you remember that one
Yeah,
where I was
yeah,
queuing and then I got knocked out the last 5 minutes. That was so sad. So I think it's fair to say I've made half, right? To say
yeah. Four and a
that's
half.
like that's
Which
4.5, right? So I'm pretty happy about that. It could have been more. There's definitely been some circumstances with like moving and then like not sleeping with my daughter and all that, where she was not sleeping well, so I wasn't sleeping well. But I'm quite happy with half. Yeah.
Sounds good.
So
I'm
yeah.
happy to watch you. I'm rooting for you this time. Make sure you dominate or at least try your best and feel good about it. So.
Yeah, we talked about the whole no pressure thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I
Yeah.
told you that it's not happening.
Yeah. No, I feel a lot better with I guess I don't really feel the pressure. I'll put it that way.
Right.
So I feel a lot better about the qualifier right now.
Mhm.
I'm also feeling pretty comfortable in the quest meta, so that helps as well. Where
Yeah.
that's no guarantee I'm going to make it, of course, but it's always nice to feel comfortable and confident going into an event like that. But yeah, essentially the qualification, I just went to bed early because that's when I didn't. That's when I started not feeling so well,
Uh-huh.
the 31st. So on stream, I was like, I'm not talking about this at all because I don't want people to know that I'm not queuing today. So I would just play, just chill, no, just playing on an A, not really saying anything about not feeling well. I was like, oh, I'm just camping, guys. But I just went to bed at like 9 or so, and the ladder closes at midnight. I was like, I woke up, like, oh, cool, it helped, nice. That's good because I feel like if you're not feeling well, and I generally already don't really want to play in the evening, that if I were to like proactively try to defend my spot, I would just do more damage than good. So I was like, whatever, I'm not gonna stay up and hit refresh every 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely a safer approach to it. Just like seeing how ladder goes near the end. Like if you're feeling comfortable, it's a lot harder for people to like climb and overpass you than for you to. It's very easy for you to play a game and lose.
yeah,
Get a bad game and then lose your own spot. So
absolutely.
I think it's
Yeah,
good.
I do most of the work up front. Right? I think most people want to do that, where they get in a spot where it's very It's very hard to push out because I was in a campable position like 3 days before, but I decided to queue a bit more just to make sure. And I really like that I did that because it put me in a spot where I could safely say, I could, very likely say, I'm going to bed and it'll hold. But yeah, anyway, so I don't want to make it too long. The qualifier is the 19th, I believe.
That's what I was gonna ask you. The
Yes,
qualifier.
yes. Yeah, so we got a little bit of time. So not great timing that I got sick, but on the other time, also way better than like a couple days earlier. Because if I got sick a couple days earlier, maybe I wouldn't have made it. And also now I'll probably be more than recovered by the time the qualifier's here. So it just took a little bit of chunk out of my practice time. That's all. But yeah, looking forward to it. Should be fun.
I'm also looking forward to it. Gonna be quite an interesting one. All right. Moving on. I mean, we basically just have the what's it called? The patch notes, right? Because I mean, it's a really big patch for BGs. I would say
Yep.
one of the bigger patches they've had in a while.
I'd say it's a huge patch to not be like a season change.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair.
because normally you have these like huge patches when there's like an MMR reset or there's this like, oh, we have now Nagas or we have Quillbore. But this was just them saying like, hey, here's a bunch of changes to your game. What for?
No
you,
idea.
you guys deserve it. Let's get some changes. So that's cool. That's cool to see. Let's hope that this is still not at the crazy pace that sort of drove me out of TFT, where TFT was like, hey, it's a new game every 2 weeks. So that was like, oh, that's too much for me, man. Like, oh, slow it down a bit. I want to be able to play on the same patch for a little bit. But this pace feels good. Where if we get like a nice big patch like this to shake it up every once in a while, that is nice.
All right. So we first of all we have general text updates. So change all instances to gain 1 gold this turn only to gain 1 gold, not a functional change, and also change all
Yeah.
instances to gain a blood gem to get a blood gem, also not a functional change. I was thinking they did this just for like word congruency and also just to maybe save space because they're all shorter statements. Because anytime I see long text, it just makes me think of Yu-Gi-Oh. And sometimes you read a Yu-Gi-Oh card and it's like it's 2 paragraphs in that one card, and then maybe they just don't want that kind of thing. And also, it's just nice to have all the cards that do this have the same effect have the same text. Because sometimes they'll be the cards that do exactly the same thing, but they'll have different text, and it's like if you play the game, you don't care, you don't really notice it. But maybe if you're a new player, you're like, oh, this one's slightly different. Does it mean something else?
Yeah, that's nice if it's all clean. But yeah, this has no impact on any gameplay whatsoever. But it's just a aesthetics thing on one part, I guess, to make it a bit shorter. The gain 1 gold this turn early to gain 1 gold, and then yeah, the other one is, I guess, just to be homogenous, that it's all the same everywhere.
Yeah. Speaking of things that have no gameplay impact whatsoever. No, I'm kidding. We have
Not to say, man. Yeah, we should have a talk about this one though.
So Jailer's armor tier 3, which I believe is 2 to 5 armor, or no, 3 to 6 armor, right?
Yes, it's 0, 2 to 5, 3 to 6,
Yeah.
and then I think 4 to 7 after that. So.
Yeah. So armor tier 3, 3 to
3 to 6.
3 to 6. Runic empowerment, 1 gold, give a minion +1/+1. So and then it upgrades after 9 friendly minions die. So if 9 friendly minions die, now it's 1 gold, give a minion +2/+2. So if 3 friendly minions die, it's 1 gold, give a minion +3/+3. So it kind of scales as the game progresses. Theoretically, like if the weird thing is, if you're doing well, your minions live, right? So then it's not, it doesn't really scale. But like theoretically, and also if you're playing specific compositions, your hero power is gonna scale as the game lasts. So, what's your thoughts on this particular hero? You have any?
I like this hero, but I think you need to understand that it's an extremely specific hero, and that if you try to do anything else with it, it's gonna suck. I think you treat this as yeah, but keep this in mind, right? I think Deathwing is a good hero, but what if you don't buy tokens on Deathwing? It fucking sucks, right? It's the same thing with this guy. Like, this is just Deathwing. If you treat this hero like Deathwing and you religiously be like, all right, let me just get tokens, let me just get tokens, let me just get tokens, then it's good. I like it because you can seriously pump the Flectobot. And
Mm-hmm.
early game, what I do with this is also I buff Bird Buddy. I just
Yep.
have like a big Bird Buddy in the back with like rat packs and shit. And then because obviously you want to play a bunch of beast tokens anyway already. So Bird Buddy makes you win the fights as well, and you have a good buff target. And if it's with mechs, right, the Flectobot is a really good buff target. Could also go with a Hydra, but I usually don't even go with the Hydra too much because I like tokens more. So like the perfect jailer lobby is mechs in, beasts in,
Yeah.
demons in, and then you just slam tokens early. But I think I don't pick this if either beasts or mechs are missing, or unless I really don't like my other pick. So it's kind of like Deathwing in that regard, where I will pick a Deathwing with either beasts or mechs missing if I have to, but I would only really like a Deathwing if I have both beasts and mechs, because those are the two main token directions that you're going to go into anyway.
Yeah, so you kind of have the same idea I do. When I saw this card initially, I was thinking this is a good hero if you either play mechs with deflectos, and then mechs you can have menace and things like that, or you play beasts, essentially Mama Bear Rat Pack beasts. So either Mama Bear beasts or things with the Croc, right? So essentially that's kind of the same idea I would have. If beasts are in, if mechs are in, then this becomes an available hero. I didn't actually put it like this is a Deathwing mentality. I think that's an interesting way of looking at it, because it I would say like it's not great if you don't have the hero power scale, right? So if it's just a one mana, like if it was a flat give a minion +2/+2, that was its power, right? I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that's good, right? Essentially, or you lose to
No,
Curiel and stuff like that. So it does need to gain value for this card to be strong. So
you don't touch this early. Like you don't touch this early. I start using this maybe if it's like 3/3 and I happen to float a gold.
mhm,
But usually this starts getting pushed out at like 5/5, 6/6, right around that time. I start to actually use it. So I also don't want to claim that this is a top tier hero, not at all, right? But so many people dismiss it as unplayable garbage immediately
really.
because yeah, because like they don't treat it like I do, where they force tokens. They'd be like, I played Murlocs and this shit was useless. I'd be like, yeah, no shit, man. Like, yeah, it's not good if you just have big ass Murlocs on your board.
But
It
would you say
obviously
that in Murloc lobbies this loses value?
if beasts and mechs are in, no, because I think in Murloc lobbies those are the hard counters.
Oh,
So I'd say it's great. But I think that's really if you apply that simple rule where you don't pick this unless beasts and mechs are in, demons in as a bonus, you hard force token stuff, this thing starts scaling really quickly. And then the sweet thing is if you can get a quest that also wants you to summon or death rattle stuff,
yeah.
that's where you can actually go for first a lot of the time, where you just have a super synergistic board and you have a big reward at the end where I've had like plus 11/11 on this thing where I was like just slamming for 1 gold, 11/11 on my Deflectobot. Like that's significant in the late game. There's also some like weird stuff you can do where I wouldn't say that this is like, oh, Jailer is really good because of this, but if you can make it to Scally Exodia, it's insane because you summon so many things. Right? The
Right.
Scallywags.
Right.
So you can just slap plus 20/20 on a Baron or some shit, where it's pretty good to play around Zap or whatever at that point. But that's that's unfair to say, oh, Jailer's OP because of that. But if you happen to get Scally Exodia on this, you pump out so many tokens that the hero power just keeps upgrading. So yeah, that is definitely something I
But
want
what
to
you're
do.
saying is Beast Mech Pirates.
Pirate, yeah. I don't even want to mention it over Demon because the early game Demon Death Rattle package is so much better than just Scallywag, right?
Right.
So I think consistency wise, don't look at Pirate. But if you happen to ever build a Scally Exodia on a Jailer comp, yes, that's
So
super
what you're
fun.
actually saying is Beast Mech Pirates Demon.
Yeah, if you can get all four, that's fun. Because I mean, a Scallywag doesn't hurt early, right? So
Mm. Very fair.
yeah,
I think the hero is playable and interesting, is what I would say, right? So I don't
yeah,
mind
yeah.
the design of the hero. Or anything like
But you just have to be very disciplined when you play
that.
this. Like you
Mhm.
need to know that you're really pushing for a token direction.
Sounds good. Moving on, we've got some hero updates. So every time, I'm a big proponent of hero updates. I think in my opinion, they don't do these enough. They don't change subpar heroes enough because it's. I would say this meta doesn't matter as much, but historically, bad heroes are the worst part of the game in my opinion. Where just having a bunch of hero selects where I feel like I only have one choice or I have no choices, right? It definitely feels bad for me. So anytime you can take a hero that's been performing poorly and upgrading them, making them relevant and wanting to play things like Pyramid, I would say nowadays, right? Like I could play Pyramid. I don't feel like, oh, it's a bad like those kind of things I want to see more of. So definitely, I always perk up when I hear, oh, they're updating existing heroes. I'm
Yeah.
jumping up to listen to that. So we can go through them. First one, Cthulhu. Old one, 2 gold at the end of turn. Give a friendly minion +1/+1. Repeat 0 times. Upgrade after each use. Now it's same cost, 2 gold at the end of each turn. Same ability. Give a friendly minion +1/+1. Repeat 0 times. But now it upgrades each turn. Each turn instead of each use.
Yeah, the basic difference here is that the counter goes up even if you didn't click the button that turn.
Mm-hmm. So what's funny is I've had people ask me, what do you think about this being a change to Cthulhu? And I would always be like, that sounds very strong. You don't have to do anything. So they probably wouldn't do that. Was my thought process. But it turns out they would actually do that. They would actually make this change. And seeing it, playing with it, I do think this is a really powerful or like decently powerful change for Cthulhu. It definitely feels like you can play with this hero. You can kind of lazy it up, I guess. Not lazy it up, but you don't have to rely on the Cthulhu hero power early. And if you can make it a late game with Cthulhu, now you start getting some huge value. So I really think it's a really nice change. I do think it might be too good, but overall, this is a change that makes me want to play the hero, makes me like the hero more, and definitely something I would look in the direction. I just think that it's currently too strong, and definitely for lower MMRs, this is like almost too good. I mean, even higher MMRs, it's even better. But I definitely think this is not a balanced change, but it's fun to play with. But I do think it's probably too good. What's your thoughts?
All right, so I had to take care of my daughter for a second,
No
but
worries.
I caught the last part of it. So you think it's too strong, or
Yeah, I think it's too, especially at low MMRs. It's like that this
too
kind of
free?
hero. It's too
Yeah,
free. You just
too
hero power.
free.
Like you don't have to play this hero. Like you don't have to use the hero power early, and then once you get into the late game, you
This
2
is good.
mana
Yeah.
+10/+10 +11 +11.
Hey,
You don't have to think too hard about it.
you compare that shit to Jailer. You're like, okay, I don't have to have any death rattles, and I get like way more buffs on my board. Yeah. No, I think that I like that they're trying this though, because I think whenever you have stuff that people just don't want to touch, let's just blast it with buffs and see if it's too much, and then scale it back a little
Pyramid
bit if it
approach.
was. Yeah, the Pyramid I think was a great success where like did they have to scale it back a bit,
Yes,
or was it just?
they did. I think.
So what was the nerf after the Giga buff, if you remember?
Was there a nerf? Wait, there had to be.
I'm just not sure. I don't think there was a nerf. I think the nerf was just like the meta shifted and they released some other bullshit. I think Wagtoggle or something, where Pyramid was like insane, and then suddenly it was like the meta shifted. People didn't get rewarded for 3-on-3 as much because I don't think Pyramid actually got nerfed after his Giga buff. And we looked at that and we're like, holy shit, man! They made it like targeted. It gets better. It still costs 0. This is
They
insane.
changed the armor.
Yeah, sure, I guess. But when you think about it, it's like,
I see your point.
yeah, it's like Pyramid is now that's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable hero to play. And whenever I see a Pyramid in my lobby, I'm like, oh, he's got a fucking Pyramid. It's over, right? It's just like right now the only hero that does that to me is Lich, where I'm just like, oh, don't make me fight this on the spike turn, right? Because it's so bad. But I like the approach of let's just blast this with buffs, and maybe it's fine because there's a lot of shitty heroes out there that you could blast with buffs and it might still be fine. So Cthulhu was something I just didn't want to touch. Like I played it 2 times in the quest meta, and they both games went well, but I didn't hero power, and that's obviously not the idea here. I picked it purely for the armor to get an easier quest. So I like the approach to see if it's too much. Now I think that an armor change is probably very very needed. Where
Yeah.
I think he still has like 10 armor or some shit.
Does he
right?
really?
He's got like massive armor,
Okay.
and the quest. I don't think there was an armor change. So it's either
that's insane.
yeah, it's either the highest or the second highest armor tier, which is I think that's probably the silly part. I think that should probably get adjusted, which it probably will. But I have not played with it yet. Have you played with the new Cthulhu or
no,
not yet?
I fought people though, and
Yeah, I
it
see him all the
feels
time.
wrong. I'm
Yeah.
like, you're very strong, sir.
I see Cthulhu's like they're not really beating me yet, but
Okay,
I see a lot of Cthulhu's.
that's not fair to say. They're not beating me. Like,
I know that's not a good metric, right? That's a 1-person sample size, right? So no, I do want to try it, and it feels too strong. I think that the armor part of it is too much. So I don't know if it's going to be like a 0 armor hero, but if you're going to have,
I think if you were going to do something quickly, I think the first thing is make it 0 armor, and then see.
I think my instinct would be like instantly bump it to like 2 to 5, where it's not just 0, because 0 does that hurts so much for quests, right?
Yeah,
like 0.
But I would say like this might be like the safest hero in the game right now.
Is it? Okay, so I don't know the curve and when this starts kicking in. So
Wait,
when do you start hero powering?
We can take a look at HS replay actually real quick, right? Let me do that.
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure like when. So when do
we
people
look at
start?
current? Yeah, it's clearly
Oh
the
wow,
best. It's
that's
not even
really
close.
good.
It's
Yeah,
not even close. Yeah, so I would instantly
that's with
0
armor on top, though, right?
Yeah.
That's with armor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I would make it 0
1
armor
0. Okay.
and then see if it's still this dominant. And
is there a way we can see the curve where they're hero powering, or is that
well,
you
you click on the hero, right, and it'll tell you how people hero power, like how likely they hero power. So they hero power turn 3, and then they hero power after turn 6 and then forever after turn.
So yeah, they get a buff on 5 gold, which makes sense because it's you know normal
like
curve.
+3 or so.
So turn 1 you get 1, turn 2 you get 2, turn 3 you get 3.
So
yeah,
2 mana +3 turn. You level to 2. That's really good, right? That turn. +3 you with your 1 drop you buy something +3.
So it's 1 less than Guff, so it's good, right? But good to put it in perspective, Guff will give 4/4 on that.
It
turn,
doesn't
right?
scale permanently to the end of the game.
No. But we were talking about that's really good. +3/+3. I just want to say it's good, but it's not insane, right?
It's not insane. Yeah, no, but like you gotta keep in mind you're playing Cthulhu.
yeah, but you were
just late game like
talking. I agree, but you got to be fair. You can't talk about turn 3 and say, "Oh, that's really, really good, gaining +3/+3." It's solid, right? I think it's solid, yeah. So the next one then happens 6 gold or turn 6, which is 8 gold, which is double by hero power. That makes sense. And then probably after that point, it just makes sense to keep going. Okay. And then if for whatever reason you can't keep it up, you can always skip 1 round.
Like 80% you hero power. So like there's some times where like the buy is too good, so I won't hero power. But most of the time you're gonna hero power essentially.
Okay. No. I mean that makes sense. I am excited to try it myself to just see it because that's also one of the things that you just need to feel. Where I remember like the first Brucon game I had after it came out of rework, or maybe not rework, but bug fix. Because Brucon wasn't there at the start of the quest meta, right? So I was like, I played one game, I was like, okay, this is batshit broken. Whereas before, like theoretically, you should have been able to figure that out, right? That it's gonna be broken. But it's like I just played the game, I was like, okay, this is not okay. This is not okay. So I'll probably, if I played a Cthulhu game, maybe I'd feel a bit stronger about the 0 armor as well.
I'm not surprised that it's dominating though, because anytime someone would ask me this exact change, I'm always like, that feels too strong. So
that's too much. Yeah.
It's always like nice to have them do the change, and it's like, best hero in the game by far. Like I'm like,
okay, validated. Yeah.
Maybe we're onto something here. Um, but I do think no armor adjustment is maybe the the flaw in this
The
adjustment.
oversight.
Yeah, the oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think that is a bit too optimistic, I guess. Where it's
yeah,
like it'll be fine, right? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, not so much
and
because that's a huge one, right? If you
mhm,
get if you get a more difficult quest,
yeah,
that's a big
yeah.
penalty.
So I'm not even saying change the hero power yet. I
Yeah,
want to see zero armor, and then
and then
after that,
yeah,
then we'll see if it's still too
okay.
dominant. Like
That's
I
I
do
think
think it's
that's
still gonna be good though, even with zero armor. Because you like the thing with heroes like this is you don't even need the quest. You know what I mean? Like if you make it like
yeah.
obviously like you're like quests are good, but
You're
like if you make it a late game, you get a lot of value.
yeah, but that's a big if, right? Just make it to the late game without a quest for
But
it,
I
right?
mean, but you're playing Cthulhu. You're getting a lot of stats. Like that's the thing. So
Sure, sure, sure. You have the approach there to do it. That's
yeah.
fair. That's fair.
So
Okay.
I don't even think like let's say they nerf this, still play the hero. That's my gut feeling. Just like the
Yeah.
hero's still going to be very good. So I do think probably overtuned, but I wouldn't yet change it. I want to see zero armor, and then
Let's see how we feel.
we'll
I
retouch this.
I think that's fair. I like the I do want to say I like the approach,
Yeah,
right? Blast it with buffs, and if it's too strong,
yeah,
just
yeah,
tone it down.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
we got a lot of heroes, man, that we don't want to pick
yeah.
based on their hero power. So
Yeah,
yeah, blast it with buffs.
yeah. I agree with you. Don't be too scared to buff heroes. You know,
Yeah.
because we're living through too scared to touch them. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't like this reality. So don't be too scared to be like, oh, this might be too strong. Just let it happen and then adjust.
And then
I would
see.
say. All right.
All right. So next up is Toki.
Yep. So old 1 gold, refresh Bob's Tavern, include a minion from a higher tavern tier. Now the new change, same ability, refresh Bob's Tavern, but now you include 2 minions from a higher tavern tier. So instead of getting 1/4 or so, you're getting 2/4 options, 1 2 5 options, 2 6 options. So you have more. It's almost more of a discover effect. Yeah, ish than the I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
flip. I'm gonna flip and see if I hit the card I'm
It's
looking
like a
for.
hook tusk, right?
Yeah,
The hook tusk discovery where you only get two
yeah.
instead of three. Yeah.
Now I haven't played this hero. I don't know if you have. I've seen people play it, but I haven't played it myself.
I'm similar to that where I haven't really seen it in my own. But I've been playing on my free to play account.
Uh
It's 10.5K, so it's not like the games are bad,
yeah, that's good.
but yeah, obviously I only have half the heroes. So I don't yeah, I would have probably been able to pick a Cthulhu by now if I was playing on my main account. Same with Toki, yeah.
I will say that I have been seeing a lot of Tokis do well. So I
Yeah.
don't like, and that's surprising to me. So when I look at this, I don't get that feeling of, oh, this is a impactful, game breaking change. But almost all the Tokis I've seen are doing well, I guess. So I
Well,
actually think this is
I
a
think
bigger
there's a
buff for
cool
it than I thought.
yeah, I think there's a cool thing you can do if you're a little familiar with how Toki curves work.
Mm-hmm.
You can easily see how this works. Where you do a normal curve, but on
Yeah,
5 gold,
you hero
sorry, on
power.
6 gold. On 6 gold, you level and hero power because you have 6, right? So the level is 5 and the hero power is 1.
And you get double 6 next turn.
Yeah, and then on 7 gold, you can double buy and then hero power again. So you just pick up a shit ton of 4 drops like that. It's kind of like a little bit like Lich, but not as bullshit. So on 6 gold, you put the 4 drops in the shop. On 7 gold, you buy 2 4 drops, hero power, have 2 more in the shop. And then that means that on 8 gold, you can sell level buy, or you can just buy 2 more 4 drops and go for a bit of a slower curve, which is very acceptable in the quest meta. You don't have to be tier 4 on 8 gold. I'd say in a lot of metas, you do want to do that.
And it also depends on what you're hitting, right? Like if you're hitting like
Yeah.
anything really, like double Peggy, double lights one, you're just like, I don't care.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there's also probably more aggressive variants
Yeah.
where you can do like some 3-on-3 shit, right? And if you have economy, you go 3-on-3 with economy, and then you hero power, sell double buy, kind of like Togwaggle, where Togwaggle needs to sell the units, the economy units, to be able to buy. with the hero power. So the same thing applies to Toki, where you can go 3-on-3 and grab 2 4-drops on turn 4,
Yeah.
which is also really strong.
And we're just talking about the early game applications of this. Like
Yeah,
this change also means you don't necessarily need to go to 6, right? Like if you're on 5, you get hero power, you get 2 6s. If you get direction, you're kind of there. And it's not like
yeah,
next turn you can't just hero power, get 2 more 6 options and check. So if like Argazoa or something is on the board, or let's say you roll double Cali, or I mean that's unlikely, right? But like there are going to be situations where you're like, well, I have my direction here. I didn't need a triple. I didn't need a level. Here's my direction. Let's play it out. So there is actually some value just being able to see double the amount of options at the time, as well as just having the curve cleaner for you. So being able to get 2 4s, I think, is probably the biggest like tempo swing for Toki in the early game, and then
yeah,
the late game isn't too bad. Like you save a lot of gold not having to level. If you're looking for a specific 5 or a specific 6, now you don't have to level, and you have a lot double the chance to hit the card you're specifically looking for, or hitting a direction of any kind, and then building around that. So uh, I initially didn't think this change was gonna matter as much, but now watching people play it and having them in my games, I do think this was a really good change for Toki. So big ups, because I was like, oh, the only like initially when I looked, I was like, oh, the only change, that's really gonna might dominate might be. Then again, that was a silly thought, so I'm not gonna repeat it. But I do
okay,
think this was
yeah.
a good change for Toki.
I was gonna say I don't know if that thought can land into anything
Yeah.
good here.
Yeah.
Like this, because there's
I
so
was
much in this.
saying it and I was like, I know this is absolutely right, so I'm not even gonna finish
Yeah,
it.
I'm gonna head out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and then probably the most interesting one of the
Mhm.
reworks for the heroes is the Rat
The
King.
Red King, yeah. So old one was a passive. Whenever you buy a minion of a specific type, give it +2/+2 swap types each turn. Now I kind of want to talk about Rat King of old before we do this, because I don't think Rat King is gonna go back to its previous ability. So essentially, this ability that it's losing is probably permanently gone. So I just want to talk about it. I used to love Rat King initially. I used to love this hero. This was like maybe my top 2 favorite hero. Now,
When you say initially, you mean way
yeah,
back when the game came out.
yes, but I want to
Yeah.
talk about why.
Yes, but that is context because we need that for some of the listeners
Okay,
who
sure.
were not around when the game was
Three
released.
years ago, back in
Yeah,
my day, 3 years ago, when I started
yeah.
playing,
When there
uh,
were like 5 different heroes,
when there were
Collins,
only
Long,
24
yeah,
heroes in the game and you had 2 options and you could get perks for 3. That was the meta. I used to really love this hero because of Amalgam. Amalgam was a tier 3 unit. So, and it was every type.
tier
So
2,
tier
tier
2
2.
unit. Yeah, exactly. You're right. It was a tier 2 unit. You're right, dude. You weren't even
It was
playing.
broke. No, I played a little bit on
uh,
release, but you kept playing, right? I just played a little bit.
okay.
I
Um,
dude, just an anecdote on that. I remember day one, Collins coming in my chat being like, dude, this Wrathweaver is OP, man. Just
yeah.
like Wrathweaver Morganas win every game, baby, right?
It
And
was. It was.
I love that, man. Like these noob strategies when you're new to the obviously everybody's a noob, so you just got to be a little bit ahead of the curve. And honestly, after day one, if you figured out that you could spam demons with Wrathweaver Morganas, that's not bad. That's okay.
It was really good at the time, dude. It was a
I
free win.
know, I know,
I
I know,
wasn't
I know.
joking.
It's fun to look back at that and be like, oh man, how the game has evolved, right? But yes, please continue. Don't want to derail too
But
much.
back then, uh, Amalgam was a 2-drop, so you could get, and it was every type. So every time you saw Amalgam, and demons, Murlocs were in, mechs were in. I think a Neuromodular was in the a Neuromodular has been in the game since the beginning, and so was the Poison Giver. So the 1/2. I think it had different storyline
Oxfam, yeah.
as well. Toxfin, yeah. So those 2 were in the game, and you could just have a bunch of amalgams. Since they were tier 2, there were a ton of them in the shop, so you saw a lot of amalgams. So every time you saw you had Rat King, and you saw an amalgam, you buy it. It gets a +2/+2 buff, and then you instantly you get divine shield. And it's not like only amalgam was the benefit, right? If you rolled mechs, a neuro module was so good. If
Yeah.
menace was in there, you had the kobold guardian, which is kind of deflecto. So there was a lot of synergy for Rat King, and it was legitimately a good hero. However, when they amalgam was too problematic for a lot of different reasons. So when they removed amalgam and they essentially removed it and came back, that was where a lot of the power of Rat King was, and it just lost a lot of value. So after that change, Rat King's kind of fallen on the wayside. It's had its ups and downs in some matters, and they've tried to make it a little bit better, but essentially, it used to be very good when amalgam was a 2, but since they changed it or removed it, they've even changed amalgam now. It's now a 4, right? It used to be a 6, then it was a 3, then it's a 4 now. So they keep trying to figure out how to make amalgam work smoothly and not be broken. But it's just interesting because I don't think we're gonna go back to its old passive. So it's just kind of a memorial, like a hero I used to love, but now it's getting a new ability, which is I think is really respectable. So it's getting rebirth. But I just wanted to have a little like discussion of like the old Rat King, and a lot
Yeah.
of new players would be like, this hero has always been bad. I'm glad they're
Whoa,
changing it. I want to say
whoa.
there was a time where it was actually very strong.
These people are not Rat King mains. Okay, respect the Rat King main. All right.
uh, but yeah, so old passive, whenever you buy a minion, give it +2/+2 to 12 types each turn. Now we have a new passive. It's 2 gold. So now you have to pay for the ability. You discover a minion of a specific type, and it swaps types each turn. So now you can discover specifically an elemental, specifically a mech, specifically a beast, specifically a Quobor. So definitely a completely different ability, and completely you have to reevaluate how you look at this hero. Now, I've talked too much. Do you have any immediate thoughts on this hero?
Yeah, for sure, for
Okay.
sure. I like this a lot.
Mhm.
The way how I've been playing Rat King,
Mhm.
because that's the hero I have been offered on my free to play
Mhm.
account, is it's almost the perfect marriage between Hooktusk and Scabs, where
Okay.
it follows the Scabs curve,
Okay.
but it acts like a Hooktusk. So what I mean with that is, let's say that you roll Beast turn 1 and there's an alley cat in the shop.
Yes.
You hero
Freeze.
power for an alley cat,
Yeah,
you
you
freeze the
freeze
alley
it.
cat.
Yes.
You float the gold, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Even if you get a bad shop, you can even roll and then hero power try to get a duplicate of something.
Yeah.
So the chance that you get a pair turn 1 is incredibly high,
Or at
because
least a good unit, like a good.
yeah, or you get like a Selemental,
Sally Alley or something,
yeah,
or
Sally
Sally
Alley,
Naga or
Sally Shelley, right?
something.
Yeah. So this is insane economy, because you can almost surely pick up some economy pieces, which
Turn
is the
one.
main that's the main hurdle for playing tier 1,
Yeah.
or the two main hurdles is, one, you got to get a triple if you're playing tier 1. The second one is you got to have enough money to make
Yeah.
the curve work.
Yeah.
And this thing does both. It gives you money and it's very likely to push for a triple. So for me, it's been very good, where I treat it like a Scabs Hook Tusk, where I follow the Scabs curve, which is a reform curve where you just sell hero power. And it's even cool where you can hero power before leveling
Mhm.
if you need to push for a triple. Or if you already have your triple and you just want to get power, you can level hero power and grab like a sewer rat instead of an alley cat. So that's how I've been playing it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I essentially it's Scab's point two, or not version 2, because I think Scabs has his own charm, but it's like another version of Scabs where you can stay on one. You have a lot of opportunities to get economy. So you do. So one thing, right? Like you do have to play this hero with economy pieces in, right? Like if Ellie is in, Ali, Naga's in, Beast in. You don't need all of them in, but you need to be able to hero power turn 2 with economy. So if you're playing, there's no economy, and you're like, I'm playing Rat King. They said it was good. You need to roll into an economy. Like the benefit of this, it's so easy to get, because you can get an extra roll on one if you hero power, or you can just get the economy from your hero power itself. So it's quite easy to get the economy, but you do need it. If you do, if you don't have the economy, turn 1 and turn 2, you've put you shot yourself in the foot a little bit right before you start the game. So that is the one caveat. Like I would say this is a really good hero, but you do have to be aware. Like there are things you have to be thinking about when you pick it. So sounds good.
Yeah, don't pick it in lobbies where you wouldn't pick a Hook Tusk, right? It's a very similar strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You just pick triple on one.
And so that's the early game, but it still has value in the late game too. If you're playing a specific type and you roll it, then you can clean up what you're looking for. Beast can do well with it, and you can also get like what's the word? Not combo pieces, but supplemental pieces. So let's say you roll Beast, you can get the 5/3, or if you roll Max, you can get the Menace or Nora Modular. So you can like clean up your composition if you get it. It's not like, oh, this is only economy early and then it's like 2 mana get something. As long as you
Yeah.
know what you're looking for, you have to be aware of like a hero power I can hit this, right? Because you're only looking through that exact type, so you're not gonna get something random like if you're playing scabs and they give you an Eliza out of nowhere. Like that's not happening. So you do have to be aware of what are available, what are the options, what's likely to get when you hero power, but it's still really good. And you even if you use it blindly, you can just roll economy. Like you roll a Celly and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't waste my power. So
I I think it's indeed like it falls off
yeah.
a lot, but yeah, if you have the right type. So I'd say like at 8 or 9 gold, that's roughly where you start, trying to
Mm-hmm.
pull like a 4 or a 5, where it could still be a really nice tempo spike. Where, let's say 9 gold, you push to 5, you hero power, you see if you get like a mama bear or something cool. I think in my game I pushed and I got like a high main, which is very, very nice. Just sweet tempo. Essentially 1 gold for a high main because you could technically sell the high main, so it's only 1 gold. That was super good. But I'd say like after that, it's like
Yeah,
10 gold, and then turns after that, you
it falls
start
off a
thinking,
bit. Yeah.
yeah, do I really want this? Like you could always end on it. You can do your turn, and then you happen to have 2 gold left. Instead of rolling it away, you could still just hero power. So, but that's usually how I treat it more in the late game.
Yeah. The real power spike, the real charm of this hero is in the early game for sure. Early
Yeah.
mid, yeah. All right, sounds good. So, looking at all of their changes, I'm pretty happy with them. Like these are the things I want to see. You could say like Cthulhu, they didn't nerf the armor, and that's the main drawback for now. But overall, like I love seeing, oh, they're buffing all the heroes that I don't play. Like that's great. So definitely happy to see this decision for them. Now they also have some armor changes, so I once again I'm gonna repeat this. Would love to see what their previous armor states were before they tell us the old one, because it's hard to memorize all the armor changes, especially when they're changing them every single
Yeah.
patch. But
It is nice though that it says the following heroes have
have less
less,
armor,
the
yeah.
following heroes have
It gives
more.
us a
I
little
think
bit more
before,
information.
yeah, before it was just like these are the changes.
Yeah,
Like this went to this tier.
yeah,
It's like, oh, is that more or is that less?
yeah.
Like now that we pay so much attention to armor, we would probably know, because armor is actually really relevant. Before we're like, oh, I don't pick no armor heroes, bro. Like I pick 0 armor heroes. That's how I roll. But
So
yeah,
maybe they're listening and they're like, it's too confusing. These BG
we can't
players don't know how to.
we can't do that. But what we can is we can give you this. So
Yeah.
this is already good. Yeah.
Okay. It does help that they're telling us which one's the lesson more, because the initial approach of like, these are the armored states for the new heroes. Like we don't know
Hmm.
anything. So
Yeah.
Brucon, Pyramid, Rat King now armored tier 1, so they have all 0 armor. I think this all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Rat King is scabs essentially, so the same. Pyramid was, we talked about last week, had one of the best or the more consistent position
Yeah.
rates, so makes sense to that. Same thing with Daryl, but Daryl's a weird, weird hero. We don't need a nerf Daryl. And then when it's Daryl 0 armor, I'd be like, I don't know about this. Like, but look at the stats. No. Like,
Yeah, I'm
uh,
still not picking Daryl. So
uh, Lich Bazal is now armor tier 2. I think this makes sense ish, because it makes sense because the hero's toxic, not because like it needs to be armor tier 2. But when Lich Bazal does well, it's not fair, right? You deal 15 to people. Um, it's hard to play where you're not taking 15. Like even when I play, I'm like, well, I don't have to see what the opponent's board is to know that I'm
Yeah.
dealing 15 to them.
She doesn't need to do well to deal 15.
Yeah.
That's the problem. She will deal 15 regardless.
Yeah.
The fact is, if she's not doing well, she'll take like a 7th or an 8th because someone will kill her at some
Someone will
point.
kill her, yeah.
But there's no way you're overcoming all that gold she gets early for free and all the tiers she gets early. So
Yes.
that was my main gripe, right? When I talked about Lich, is like even if she doesn't high roll, the people that you fight on that crucial on those crucial like 2-3 turns are still taking 15.
Yeah. So the problem is this doesn't solve the issue, right? It just means that if you play, like, it might mean there might be less people playing her, which might in fact solve the issue, right? Because it's more rare.
It's better than having more armor, that's for sure. But I hear you. You're saying that this doesn't solve the issue of those people that you fight on turn 5 and turn 6 are still taking 15 and there's nothing they can do about it. And I agree. So I don't know if going straight to 0 armor was too harsh.
But I think that is too harsh.
Yeah, because then you're really just
I would I wouldn't touch her, and I don't think I don't want more of those heroes, right?
Which would be great, honestly. For now, that's kind of like
you're Sneeds. You're Sneeding.
Yeah, no, but I mean, she is
kill her with fire is what you're saying.
Yeah. I'm okay to have this be unplayable garbage because I mean, I really liked Old Lich. Actually, I would love a revert. Like I really liked Old Lich. I think the whole tap get a coin, it offered so much flexibility. I thought that Old Lich was really a good player hero. It's like here's options. Now go make it work. So I really liked Old Lich. So but I'm guessing that for some, like for some quests like cards to the hand and all that, it's maybe too good where you just get a coin in your hand every turn guaranteed. Yeah, I'm not sure, but whatever. That's my take on it. We don't have to dwell too much.
Sure.
It's better than not nerfing her. That's for sure.
All right. Next, Deathwing, Toki, Kurtrus, and Tavish are now armor tier 3. So this one I have more like, because I remember Tavish armor tier 6 at 10 armor, and then it was like, oh, this is the best because it had a decent hero with a decent hero power and it's armor tier 10. So they're like, okay, let's nerf that. They're just like, oh well, people are still playing him. Let's nerf it again. Now it's 3 to 6 armor, and you're playing Tavish. Like it's not the same anymore. So definitely feel like maybe the stats are like being mean to Tavish here, where I don't think it deserves to be this low. Kurtrus had really good stats, so I can see this one a little bit. I wasn't really much of a Kurtrus player, so essentially it's like, wow, bad for my opponents, I guess. Toki getting nerfed, I think, is fair because after playing it and seeing, I do think that the hero power change was a good buff for her, so I think that's fair. Deathwing getting nerfed, I'm pretty indifferent on, so that one I don't care too much. What's your thoughts on these?
I think that most of them are fair. The Tavish one, indeed, if the stats indicate it was too strong, then sure, it's one of those heroes that I might still take just based on the selection.
I want to see where he's at right now.
Yeah, sure. I think that's probably one of the more, or the less interesting ones, where it's just like, okay, the hero power has some use and you have armor. Cool.
He's in tier 2. But his pick rate is like significantly lower than everything else around.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the data too much then. But the other 3 I think are way more interesting, where these are all nerfs, I believe. Kurt, Toki for sure, Deathwing as well, right? Deathwing wasn't 2 to 5. So Deathwing getting nerfed, I can kind of see it. It was a really safe pick. If Beast to Mechs are in, this was 4 to 7 armor. So that's
and they did buff Deathwing, essentially. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Pretty damn easy quest and then good hero power now. Kurt, I also understand. I played a Kurt game this morning and I won it. Still very good, very strong. So
That
3
tells
to
me
6 is
nothing.
still good. So what?
Tells me nothing.
It's still 3 to 6 is still a good place to be, I'd say, for quests. So yeah. And
Sounds
then
good.
the last one's Onyxia. I go on the tier
Onyxia.
4.
So Onyxia, I don't play and I don't see too many. I do notice that Onyxias aren't like always last, which is my previous observation. So I guess it makes sense to nerf it, but I don't know. Not a common hero, and not a hero I care too much about. So I don't really have too much of an opinion about this.
I played some Onyxia here and there, just armor value. She also does really well with Volatile Venom, the quest that makes your tokens +8/+8. So yeah,
That
that's cool.
that's fair. But
Yeah,
do you
that's
think that's a preemptive nerf?
no, I don't. I think nerfing for specifically getting a quest is maybe a bit much.
Okay.
I think that she was just see. This is the thing where I think it's really hard to do poorly on high armor heroes that have a quest that have a hero power that can't bait you. So, for instance, Cthulhu, you'll get baited into playing like a Cthulhu. But Onyxia's hero power is also kind of bad, but it doesn't cost you any money, so you won't get baited. So that's just upside because you should pick an Onyxia because you want an easy quest, not because you're going to be hyper focused playing around tokens. That might happen if you get Volatile Venom, of course, but I would pick an Onyxia and I would just play whatever. I wouldn't be like, oh, I have to force tokens. So the hero power doesn't cost you money, and that's a
I
big
see.
deal. Yeah, I think a lot of bad heroes with a lot of armor, their win rate is lower because people actually click the hero power. It's a very common mistake trying to play the hero. You should
The
just pick
old Cthulhu, right? That was a really big deal. Like people just press the button, and I'm just like, why?
exactly.
Why?
That's so much money that like if you pay 2 gold every turn, starting turn 1, your game is over, man. Like that's so much money that you throw away for a mediocre effect there. So I think that's probably why she was doing a little bit too well. Where that was a hero with a somewhat okay hero power in that you get some advantage here and there, and then the quest was nice. So yeah.
All right. Fair enough. So now these following heroes have more armor, so they're getting
Yeah.
buffed essentially. So the previous ones we talked about, they're getting less. These ones are having more. First
Yeah.
one up is Patchwork. Now it's armor tier 2. Now I find this hero kind of hilarious because of the way it's designed, right? Um, since it now has 55 health, you can't really give it that much armor, right? Because imagine 55 health plus 10 armor,
Yeah.
right? That would be a bit stupid. Uh, so because of that, you have to give it little armor. But the way quests are designed, they're designed so if you have less armor, you have much harder quests. So Patchwork is a hero, like even with 55 health, no, that's not a tier 1 ability. You have 15 extra health. Like it's like not negligible, but it's not like, oh wow, you're gonna dominate the
Is it
game because you have 15 health.
was it 55 and was it raised to 60 or not? Because
It might be 60. I don't
I can
remember.
check right the library, but I feel like it was 55 and they raised it to 60,
Oh, they did raise it to 60. You're right.
and
All
that's
right.
why it lost its armor
Yeah.
initially. Yeah. So yeah, but that's just even more of an issue then, right? Where you 60, imagine this rolls 10 armor.
10
Oh,
armor. Yeah.
70 health,
Yeah,
baby. You're out.
everyone's starting with 40, and
Yeah,
you're starting with
you're
70.
getting close
And
to
there's
the
a
point
15
where
damage
it's
cap as
yeah.
well. Like you're just like, I don't care. I'll just do whatever I want. I'm not dying. Like the problem with having significantly more health than your peers is that you never get eighth. Like imagine you start with 60, like 70 armor. How are you getting eighth? Like even if you try, it's kind
Yeah,
of
my
hard.
favorite curve on Patchwork is 4-on-4. Just go hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, due to the way his health works, he doesn't get a ton of armor. But due to the way quests work, you get very difficult quests. So these combine to make Patchwork a very rough hero to play. It feels okay because you're like, oh, I'm gonna, I have a lot of health, but once you get to past the early mid game and people activate their quests and they have hero powers that do a lot of efficient things, you just start losing. So I've seen a lot of curves for Patchwork where they're like 50 health the whole time, then 20 dead. Then they take 30 over
Yeah.
over 2 turns, and they're just like, what happened? I was 50 health 2 turns ago. Yeah, well, people spiked, and you're still working on your quest. You trigger your quest when you're dead. I've seen that happen quite a bit. So I don't think this fixes Patchwork. Obviously, it helps, but it's hard to fix Patchwork with quest meta, right? Because let's say you change it up and then like quests disappear, then this hero could become very problematic. So you do have to be careful. But obviously, you're gonna adjust the armor tiers after quests are gone. But still, its current iteration is very weird to balance Patchwork in a clean way. That's
Yeah,
kind of
I feel the same. Where I would never pick him no armor, and now it's like okay, maybe right because you're not going in with
maybe
0.
maybe three
But
to six, right? 66 start health, like that's kind of good.
I
Uh,
I think Patchwork was actually doing all right at the start of the quest meta, just because you were so hyper focused on
Have more
quest.
tempo, right? Yeah, there
Yeah,
was a lot of
that it was
tempo stuff.
actually a bit faster paced, but
Mm.
it's not a huge change. Just something now kind of pickable if you have to. Whereas
I,
before,
I
it's like don't
don't.
touch.
I still don't recommend it, but be my guest, right? Prove me wrong. Tell me it's broken. Uh, Next up, we've got Alex Straza and Phelan now getting an extra bump in their armor tiers. What's your thoughts on this? Do you care? No, don't play these heroes.
I don't play these heroes, and I don't. I mean, this is going to make me pick them if I were to make an armor pick.
Okay,
So, which is cool, right? They're using the system. They're using the levers to
it's funny.
make us change our decision. But I don't like the idea of leveling like that
Oh,
in this meta, or I don't like the idea of having to do that. I think that that is a thing that can work based on your quest. So if you have a quest which requires you to spend gold on minions, and then also your whole hero mechanic requires you to level, that is a mismatch. So if you have to buy, if you have to play a certain type, that's so hard to do if you also have to rush tier 5. If you have a quest, of course, that requires you to spend gold or have X amount of friendly minions die, that's different. So it really depends on the quest whether I want to level in my game or not. So I don't like heroes that don't
force you
do
to do
anything
that.
unless you level. Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say this is funny because I play both of these heroes.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was just
This
like,
is
oh, this is great for
hilarious.
me because I play
Yeah.
Axelox, I play Phelan, and they're just getting free
Okay.
health, and then the quests are easier. So I was like, oh, this is great. I,
And they're
I wanted to
nerfing
ask you
my
first because I
shit.
knew you didn't play them. So I was like,
Yeah, I
oh,
love it.
he's
They're
gonna be like, I
nerfing my
don't care.
shit and they're buffing your shit. Okay. I see how it is. I see how it is.
This is great for me.
Nerfing versions.
I was like, oh, Alex tries to play, so Phelan, I play Phelan. I do think you are right that it does force you to play a certain style, right? Like you are encouraged to level. Where I wouldn't say the quests initially encourage you to level. I'd say they don't. They encourage you to stay down. I would say on average, quests encourage you to stay down more than they encourage you to level. They want you want to trigger your quest early, and then you want to play around those quests if they are quests that deem worth playing around, cookbook and whatnot. So you do have to be aware when you're playing heroes like this that um, when you're deciding on your quests, you kind of have to avoid quests that um, don't make you do what these heroes want to do. Now you can't ignore like if the quest options are premium, like play 3 or 4 battle cries and there's 4 in the shop and like the reward is like cookbook or something. Like okay, ignore Phelan. Just trigger your cookbook and max and win the game, right? But you do have to be aware of like there are options in the quest that are not available to me when I play this because I want to be leveling. This I would say it helps a little bit in this patch because they've added more quests that don't care about leveling, which I think has been very different than initially, where a lot of the quests were all encouraging buying stuff. They added 2 new quests, I think, or and you can level with both of them. So it's
Yeah.
actually less restrictive now if you're playing these type of heroes because you're more likely to have a quest that you don't care about buying minions. So that is the one change there. But these heroes are good for me essentially, so I like playing them. So happy for me. Moving on, these last couple heroes have more armor: Shemvala, Mr. Bigglesworth, and Zephyrus the Great. Now armor tier 5, which is 5 to 8 armor. So pretty impactful changes for most of them. What's your thoughts here? I wouldn't say
Shannon. Yeah, go ahead.
I wouldn't say a lot of like these are like premium heroes per se. Shemvala really didn't play. I saw a lot of people still like playing Shemvala, but I didn't really like it. Still felt too flippy for me. Though I liked it buddy meta, like buddy meta Shemvala, my buddy, my friend.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
not
absolutely.
not buddy meta, not for me too much. Bigglesworth I like, and I don't think you like, right? But I actually I actually don't mind playing without a hero and then just like start winning. Like it does require the right lobbies. You have to be in lobbies where you're very likely to get something that's playable when people die. So things like mechs when you get big deflectos. Murloc's not that good.
Wait. That's a trick question. Big deflecto players don't die, Collins.
I'm the one killing him.
No, that's cruel.
I kill him
No.
and I take the deflector. I'm like, this is nice. Like I've done that multiple times.
That's because you're a very strong player, but they don't normally die. So
That's a fair point. That maybe if normally maybe it's a bait. That I mean, this hero is a bait for a lot of players.
hero is a bait.
Yeah.
But if you're a strong player and you can actually push someone out of the game and steal their shit, yeah, that's nice. It feels like battle royale type, right? It's like, oh, I killed you, got your inventory, nice. Let me grab that.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me grab that deflector boy. Here we go.
Maybe that's why I like playing this hero because it feels very good to kill someone and take their best card. It's just like, oh, I'm now extremely strong. And I mean, obviously the late game with this hero can be good, but it is definitely more of a baity hero, and I wouldn't recommend it. I just play it myself, so I have like good experiences with the hero, but I wouldn't recommend it for sure. So, and then Zephyrus feels weird to me because like it feels like it should be good, but then sometimes I'm like, it doesn't do anything. Or like other heroes have abilities that like feel as good or better than Zeph, you know? Like and also like people can just high roll and then you don't have an ability versus them essentially. Like, oh, they got their triple and they didn't have to use a hero power. But I still think it's like okay, but not like as good as
I don't think that reasoning is good.
okay.
Like playing against the high roller on any hero is going to be a bad experience.
But I want to win the game, Shady. And if they're a high roller, then I don't win the game.
Yeah, but you could absolutely high roll a Zephyrus.
Sure.
Right? You can make golden brands, you can make golden nomis and shit. So they're definitely
Maybe I don't high roll. That's
but you have to push for it, right? Like I do this. I think a cool strat for Zephy a lot of the time is the first triple is a 4-drop on 7 gold for tempo. And then the next triples, I might either generate naturally and then try to make a golden tier 5 by discovering 2 pieces of it, or I'm just strong enough that I can go to 5 and then hero power 5 drops. So I tend to like Zephyrus and do well with Zephyrus. And I think a lot of people, they do poorly with him because I don't think 5 to 8 armor for Zephyrus is normal. I think he's too good for 5 to 8. I think if you consistently use your first hero power for tempo, if you need it, which most of the time you do, because otherwise you don't have hero power, you're gonna be fine. But I think most people greet too hard, and they do this thing on like 8 gold where like
I think most people greet too little. Essentially, they're just they always press it every time, and they always just like.
Oh well, see, I think the first one. So the problem is that on the first one, I think this is a classic Zephyr's noob trap, right? What people do is their first hero power is on 8 gold, where they've gathered a pair. They double sell, level to 4, hero power,
and then get a
triple some shitty Sally or whatever, get a 5-drop,
Uh,
and then suddenly you have 3 minions on your board.
you could
You're
do that
getting
in buddy meta. Maybe they're just stuck in that.
yeah. And Buddy Meta was great because you
Yeah,
just make it go to 5-drop.
yeah.
But now you take damage because you're losing, and then the next turn you're like, okay, I've got 3 minions on my board. I buy some stuff, and then the turn after you feel pressured. You have to hero power some garbage,
Yeah.
right? But whereas if you're just like not so greedy with the first one and you just hero power on 7 gold, grab like a Mechano Tank or a Peggy or whatever 4-drop, and you spend like maybe another turn on tier 3, build your
So you
board.
stay on 3 an extra turn.
If I have to, right?
Okay.
So it depends a bit. Excuse me, guys. If my shop is good, then I'll buy. If I have a good opponent to level against, if my quest wants me to level, if my quest wants me to buy, these are all the variables, of course.
Want you to level?
Yeah. No, I mean, like, let's say I'm unlocking alter ego next turn, and it's something like friendly minions are dying. So my quest doesn't give a shit if I level or not, right? So technically, the quest wants me to level because then I'm on 4 and I can grab modules and all that. But yeah, let's say I'm playing a quest that is more buy 2 more minions, activate smoking gun, right? And of course, I'm going to buy that, activate my smoking gun, take a lot less damage, and then you're in a position where Zephyrs can make Golden Baron a lot easier. Zephyrs can make Golden Bran a lot easier. So those are really there are certain cards that go from good to insane when they become golden, and Baron and Bran are
a Golden Brand in this meta.
Golden Brand in this meta. Dude, the taunt thing gives like what 18 health on a minion. You can give 18
how
health.
Good is that? Like,
just give 18 health to a minion for 2 gold.
But
That's
you have
not
to
so.
taunt it, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta get a taunt anyway, right?
I hear.
But I mean, there's other stuff, right? You can Smogger and Murazond, Tavern Tempest. If Murlocs are in, I mean, I don't have to explain why a Golden Brand is good. So, yeah, I'd say that's probably the rhythm that most people miss, where they go for the money too fast, where they're like, oh, right, 5-drop, 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 and then damage, and then they end up having to throw the next 2 hero powers away because they have to play defense.
That's good that we talked about this. Yeah, I feel like.
I like Zephy. So like for me, it was very surprising to see this change, but kind of the same way as you like, haha, suckers. I was already playing Phelan anyway. I feel the same thing. You're like, I was already picking Zephyrs anyway. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Just going over them, I think nothing like jumps out to me as like, oh, this is like super weird, but it is interesting to see them like, but they're all like within parameters. Like nothing's like, oh my god, Taz, what was her name? Tess buff. Like, what is Tess armor change? I can't believe none of that. But yeah, we can go straight to the new backgrounds quest. So first one, hire an investigator. End your turn with unspent gold a number of times. Average is 3. So
yeah.
This one I've used. This one I think is okay if you can do it easily. So sometimes I have random sellies, and I'm just like, well, I'll just sell a selly, and then next turn I'll sell my other selly. Okay, I've triggered it. Like it wasn't hard. So I do think this one is like, if you can waste gold easily, if you have economy, this is actually a nice one in my opinion. Any thoughts about it? Same opinion?
Yeah, I think this is really good because you can change your curve to fit to make this fit basically,
very
right?
easily.
Like you can even like so if you're excuse me, if you're on tier 1, it's very easy. You turn it into a Rafam curve. Boom, there you go. Right, it's done. If you've already leveled, you can maybe even on 7 gold double buy, float a gold, and then from then on, it's easy to float a gold because your curve is all weird anyway. But it's totally fine if your goal is to float a gold. So stuff like that, you can fix it very easily.
Even on turn 6, instead of buying, you could just float a gold.
Yeah, level sell buy for an upgrade, right? Or if there's nothing better in the shop, maybe just cycle. But yeah, there's this. I will say that I got a stupid requirement where I want to make sure that I say it right, but I had this requirement on the Nethrius with stolen gold. I think I needed to float gold 4 turns, and I got stolen gold after that. I want to say that I really think it was 4, but I'll even say 5 just in case. But I think it was 4. and that's insane because I just played Tavern Tippers and I didn't feel this requirement at all. Like, oh, stolen gold. And that was so free. It was insane how free that was. So I think there's definitely opportunities for this quest to be stupid, where if you happen to be able to fit into a farm curve, you don't you don't feel this at all. It's insane, yeah. So I'd say this is definitely one of the ones that you should look for when you're thinking, do I just need something that I can complete no matter what?
Yeah.
Because the play X amount of whatever type, that one can really bite you if you don't
Yeah.
hit the right
Yeah, if
minions.
you're unlucky, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
these type of quests are always really good because they're reliable. Where some
Yeah.
of the other ones are like, let's say it's like play 4 battle cries. You're like, oh well, I have 2 in the shop, and like, sometimes you can roll it down and just waste a turn and not hit anything. So you have to be careful sometimes with the other ones because they don't have that consistency of like, oh, I just waste 1 gold. Okay, that's very easy to do. I can always do that. I know I'm gonna get this quest on this turn every time. So definitely a premium quest if you are in the right situation, and even if you're not, like this isn't a hard one to like meander into or force. It doesn't. You don't have to work too hard. Uh, Next one, crack the case. Have friendly minions attack X number of times, average being 11. So I've used this a couple times. And it always strikes me like how weird. Like I can never guess how much attacks I'm gonna get. I don't know. Maybe I just need to get better at that. But like sometimes I'm like, okay, I should get like this number, and I get like significantly less. Or my opponent, and like I've been screwed over by my opponents being too weak. I don't know if this is like just a NA thing, but my sometimes I'm like, okay, I have this, and then my opponents have like 1 minion or something, and then they'll delay me a turn, and I'm just like, so it's been somewhat awkward to me, but I don't think that's like normal, like but like it's happened twice where I've been delayed a turn because my opponents were 2 weeks, so I don't know. But how's your experience with this?
This has been good for me. I've been taking this quite a bit. I really like that it doesn't make you change your leveling
Multiply.
curve or your buying habits and all that. So, yeah, you can obviously get it a turn later than you would have wanted to, but not having to go out of your way to pick minions that make you weaker than you would have been, or to, I guess, do anything, right? Rearrange them or having to lose or whatever else requirements you have. I've liked this because you can change your setup a little bit
Yeah, you
with
can
buying
play
minions.
weaker, essentially.
Yeah, not even just playing weaker, but I had like double menace on my board, for instance, for this, and that's amazing because you just have so many tokens where you're not weaker, but you're attacking with small minions at the start. So the fight is going to go on for a long time.
I
You
mean,
just have more
I mean
units
that
than
is
it's.
weaker though, right? Like if you put menace first, um,
Oh, you mean like throwing positioning?
yeah,
Yeah, I look at it a little bit more like an avenge type stuff where you would do that if you have a light spawn or so anyway.
okay. So you're thinking
Uh,
about more like avenge. Okay.
like a
I
value
see what you mean.
thing, right? But it depends. If you think you're going to lose that fight, then of course you throw all the power in the front because they'll kill your stuff anyway. So you only do that if you feel like it's going to be very close, where you might not complete the quest if you are too strong.
Uh,
So yeah, I like this. I do think that if you get like the 25 one, that does take a while, but I've completed that one too. So I think that's definitely something where if you're strong enough, you can do it and just wait on it.
okay. Fair enough. I do think overall these are like helpful additions to the quest because previously it's more you have to buy minions to activate a lot of the quests. Now they've added some quest requirements that don't require you being forced to buy specific minions and or minions in general even. So I definitely think it gives people more freedom to activate some quests. Not all just like buy buy demons. I'm okay with these.
Yep, I like the additions.
Now we've got some quest rewards, some interesting quest rewards to talk about. First one being Blood Goblet. At the end of your turn, give your rightmost minion attack equal to your missing health. So I haven't seen this actually. I don't know if you have or if you have any thoughts on the one, but I particularly haven't seen this. I did talk about it already in that
Mhm.
this could be good if it's easy to activate and uh you have units that want extra attacks, so cleaves and divine shield units and stuff like that. But like on paper, it looks kind of bad, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's better than I thought. Is my initial
Yeah,
impression.
I played with this. I won the game. I liked it. I wouldn't pick this if it's like super hard.
Yeah, was it
So
hard?
for my requirement, it was fine. But I think that was because I just had a good setup for it. So I don't think Blood Goblet is something that you're going to force. Like for instance, Cookbook, you can try to force that in certain lobbies where you're like, oh, this is so good. If I can just get this, like turn 8, I'm fine, right? So whereas this, I probably wouldn't force. Now, of course, it's early days. It's hard to say for sure. But the way how I used it is I used it to so I had a ghost round where I juiced up my Nadina and suddenly I had like a 40 damage Nadina. And
And you were
then
like 8 health.
I was, well, when I started using it, I was like, I was getting 20/20 or so. I was getting plus 20 attack. And then I lost one more round at some point, which then netted me to Ghost. But even if you get plus 20 attack, that's still relevant
That's
enough
still
to
good.
kill something. Yeah, so I utilized this to buff Bronze Warda and buff my Nadina. Near the end, I used it also to, again, when I was like top 3 situation against the Ghost, I used it to buff Hydra. And then the next turn I had a 40 damage Hydra. So yeah, that was useful in that regard. It also allowed me to buff more like tech units. Like let's say if you're running a brand, you can make your brand. It's very easy to put your brand in the back anyway, and then your brand will trade with stuff. You can use it to buff your Baron, which is useful. So I'd say the quest reward is better than people give it credit for. However, I don't think that this is a quest that you should be forcing at all. But if you're getting it for cheap, then I like it
Alright.
because yeah, high attack. We've seen this before, right? Where it's the same thing with Menagerie Mayhem. I actually like Mayhem, and I do really well with Mayhem because having extra attack allows you to trade with other stuff, and you can push for Divine Shield and Cleave, which really leverage that extra attack. And it's the same thing here, where you can easily have a Deflectabot in the back for 1 round. That's fine. Like one round having your Deflectabot in the back, and then it suddenly has 20 extra damage. That's
I
insane.
would rather have what's it called, a 23-2 in the back than a 3-2 in the front. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
exactly, right? So it's especially if you've just picked up a mackerel or you've just picked up a deflecto, yeah, put that sucker in the back. Don't be like, oh well, I gotta put my 3/2 in the front, right? Because otherwise it won't reset. It's like, yeah, it's not worth resetting yet. Yeah. So TLDR is it's probably fine as long as you can get it. Uh,
in like 2 turns or
I think 2 turns is too early for
too
this because
early.
it is a very high engine buff. I think it's more if the quest requirement is along the lines of what you're
What
doing.
you're doing
So
anyways.
yeah, if it's like 5 battle cries and we got 2 battle cries in the hand, that kind of thing, where it's not necessarily going to be 2 turns after that, but you don't want to be like 0 out of 5 battle cries and then be like, oh well, I got to pick Blood Goblets because Shady told me you want a game with it, so I'll find the battle cries whatever cost. Yeah.
If you pick your cards because Shady told you want to game with it, you pick it every single every single
Yeah,
time.
well, I also lose games with cards, so yeah, maybe you should avoid those. Maybe we can't pick cards anymore. All right, cool.
All right. So overall, maybe playable if it's easier to trigger, and has some synergy with Divine Shields, Cleaves, though whatnot. So maybe if
Yeah.
Beasts are and mechs are in it, you might be feel a little bit better of play. Especially if like you could get like a Divine Shield Mechro setup. It's
Yeah,
kind of good.
that'd be the nuts, right? You have like 2 moduled macros and you just switch them every turn to like
Yeah,
puff, 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 puff.
yeah, 120
Yeah,
attack. Um,
that adds up. Yeah.
Essence of Zerus, the next one. At the end of your turn, add a Shifter Zerus to your hand, which transforms into random minions. So you don't need to add that if you've played the card, but I think if you're a new player or whatever, you haven't seen it, then yeah, you need to know. You're muted, or is it me? Let me check. It sounds like you're muted. Can't hear Collins. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I was muted for a second here because I was
Oh,
coughing.
you were muted. Okay.
Yeah. I was just coughing. Like, don't worry about it. But
I'm really low, is what people are saying.
yeah. I'm too loud compared to you for sure.
I can raise my gain and see if that changes anything.
Well, compared to how it's described, I think it's more because you're totally fine for me. Your volume hasn't changed for me.
Oh,
So I think
okay.
it's really an OBS setting. Yeah. Then we're good now?
Now we're
Okay.
good. Okay.
Let's roll with this. Then I can turn you down a bit.
Yeah, I
That's
raised my gain. So I mean,
some gains. All right.
yeah, them gains. All right, sounds good. What were you talking about? Zerus, yes.
Zerus.
What's your thoughts on this?
I think it's really strong. This
Oh, you think it's really strong? I haven't played with it, so I have no.
the quest is too easy.
It's too
you can
easy. Oh, okay.
sometimes two-shot it or three-shot it or something. So you get the Zerus rolling too early. And then like we saw this when Zerus was introduced right back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that even in high level play, sometimes it was statistically correct to buy, like let's say you go 3-on-3, it was like statistically correct to buy the Zerus.
Yeah.
So now you do this with less of an investment, where you get it for free at the end of your turn, where it kind of is, it's a gold at the very minimum, and sometimes it turns into economy where it's 2 gold. But you could also just be like, ooh, I won the game. Nice. Right? Like, just as a good player, opening up another avenue, be like, well, I might just win the game here. I think the game I did really well with, this gave me a glow scale on the first shift. And that's not like that shit crazy, but getting a glow scale early is like, you're not supposed to have a glow scale on, what was it, 8 gold or something. Right. So yeah, if I got a glow scale on 8 gold.
So the problem is you can complete this really fast, is what you're saying.
Yeah, but I will give counterweight here, where if you complete this too late, suddenly it doesn't do anything anymore.
I'd rather it be that.
Yeah, you're done.
I'm a Zerus hater. Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. That's like the Lich approach. I'd rather have it be unplayable than viable and too strong. I've done really well with it every time I picked it. It just gives you flexibility as well, the extra cash. I've definitely had some moments where I was able to level because I had that extra Zerus minion.
I have skipped this on principle, and you're telling me no, don't do that.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's actually good.
I don't like to hear that, Shady. That means I have to play it this.
Well, pick it. Like, if you can 2-shot it, I think you should definitely pick it, right? If you can map it out in your head, you're like, okay, this is very 2-shottable. I think if it's 3-shottable, it's still fine. I think once you're talking 4 turns,
then maybe too much.
So I'd say 2-shot or 3-shot is ideal for this.
Okay.
I mean, if you're like really lucky, right? You have every piece ready, you can 1-shot it, right? Like if you're playing a Scabs and you go a bunch of battle cry minions in your hand or something, and then it's absolutely broken if you get it the very first turn. But yeah, I'd say 2-shot or 3-shot's probably what you're looking for.
Okay. So you hear that, chat? Don't play it. That's our takeaway. God.
The official podcast opinion. Don't add more zeros to the game.
Next one, we've got Hidden Treasure Vault. At the start of your turn, gain 1 gold, but it upgrades every turn. I have played with this. It felt I don't know. I don't know if it felt good. It felt like I'm gonna die. That's how it felt. Like I'm gonna die. Like I got one good, it doesn't matter. I got two good, don't really care. I got three good, that's kind of okay. But like I don't know if it's been worth having 3 turns of this. I just got like 5 gold. Like obviously, if you could make the late game and you're starting to get like 7, 8 gold, like this gets pretty stupid. Um, but being in a position where people are starting to get their treasures and their prizes, and you're just like, I got 2 gold, like
Yeah.
those turns feel really bad. So I'm not super sold on it right now.
I think this is a quest you take when you are strong, but you want to. Sometimes you have this, right, where you can be weak early, but you know that you'll make it if you get to the late game. So, for instance, like let's say you're playing Gallywix, I think this is an awful quest choice because Gallywix has Hidden Vault built in already.
Yeah,
right. If Gallywix makes it, he wins.
his vault isn't hidden; it's just right there.
Yeah,
Like,
it's right there. He's waving it around. We're like, look at all my money, right? So, but to give you a counterexample, let's say you're playing a Kurtrus.
And this is why I don't like this quest right already. Like I don't play those heroes.
Yeah, you're not strong early, right? But for a Kurtrus, it's perfect because I'm winning all my early rounds anyway because I'm Kurt, right? I don't lose. And then all of a sudden in the mid game, I'm like, oh, 5 extra gold, 6 extra gold. That's pretty good.
Yeah, this makes sense that this is more of a shady style reward.
You got to be able to afford it in terms of tempo. So you can also just play a normal regular hero and you just have a strong start, right? I just, I happened to get like a good triple. I tripled into Gold Grubber. My Gold Grubber is carrying me. I can afford it. It's fine. So that's another part of it. But the main thing I would say is don't take this if you need to get stronger from your quest, because we definitely have those positions where you're playing a Hook Tusk and your triple isn't happening. Don't be like, oh, let's take a vault on top of all of that bullshit that I already need to deal with. No, take the smoking gun, take the alter ego, right? Like take something that will actually win you some fights so you have some time to stabilize. But if you are strong, then this quest makes sense because then you just have a way to scale into the late game. Because even if you are a tempo hero, if you suddenly get a bunch of money, you're no longer a tempo hero in the late game.
Yeah. So essentially, if you have a good start or you're playing a hero that really spikes early, this is a playable quest but reward. But if you are playing a hero that really scales into the late game and doesn't really need extra economy like a Gallywix or so, this isn't really the quest you want to be looking for. So I definitely agree with that. I lean towards the second option, the latter part of it, where my heroes are good later. So not a reward for me. It doesn't work too well. Now next one we have ethereal evidence. At the start of every turn, choose from 2 new rewards. So it's kind of like Panda, right?
Yeah, okay. Panda for quests.
I haven't played with it, so
that's an issue. I haven't played a lot with this either.
Okay, it looks fun. And it's hard to judge how good it is because I have no idea when my opponents like are running it, like how impactful it is.
The big thing is how easy is it?
Yeah,
and then if you don't have a good feel for how easy it is, it's really hard to rate the quest.
That's
fair. So I feel like for this one, come back next week.
Next week. We'll
know by then. But if we both haven't really played with it, it's really hard to say if it's good or bad. Because hey, if I can 2-shot this thing reliably, it's gonna be great. If I have to wait 4 turns for this most of the time, it's probably not so good. So yeah, that's just a huge factor. How early can you get it?
Yeah. All right, that's fair. So skip from us today. Next one we have volatile venom. Your minions have +8/+8. After they attack, they die horribly. Yeah. Pretty interesting description of the passive. But essentially, you have an aura buff, an 8/8 aura buff. But if your minion attacks, it dies. If they get attacked, it lives. So that's a big distinction.
I have to make very, very clear they die after they attack, right? So the attack resolves. It's not like your units can't attack, but
That
they
would be
attack.
so weird, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it could be more like for like tokens or taunts or whatever. But it's, obviously, that would be terrible.
Yeah. So your minions can attack, but then they always die. And if they get attacked by the opponent's board, it does nothing happens to them. They're fine. So
they can survive.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I think it's a pretty interesting reward, and definitely you can play around it for sure. But you do have to make sure that you are you are playing around. Like, you cannot ignore this reward. This is not a reward you're like, oh, I'll just randomly like just get it and then I'll just play the game out. No. You have to be heavily aware that you hit this, you pick this, you've got this. But I do think if you are aware of it in the right situations, this is like extremely powerful, extremely strong, very safe, very stable. Like, you could literally buy a rat pack, and then just like pass and win. Just win with a single rat pack. Not like let's say you got this turn like super early. Obviously, this is a hard quest to complete, but like let's say your board is just like all rat packs. It's just nothing but rat packs. You could literally just win like very late in the game with just a board life of that. It popped, it triggered, clear, full board. Here's another full board. So there's a lot of power in this, and it has even more uses. But what's your initial thoughts on this person?
I think it's really good. Yeah. I've done really well every time I picked it. Okay. It's so the moment it activates, it's like you get like a 3-turn pass of like
do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's like just do a check. Do I have a couple token shits? Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. I'm not gonna lose, right? Yeah. So because +8 is outrageous in terms of combat. Because you might think like, well, the 8 health doesn't matter, right? It's like, well, every time they attack one of your guys and it doesn't die, it mattered. Mm-hmm. So the 8 health is relevant. So you don't lose in the mid game after you get this, period. And if you are a good player, and I will tell you like, hey, for the next 3 turns, do whatever the fuck you want. You're like, okay, let's build a really juicy board. So this means like, hey, let's just go to 6 and roll for some Omega Busters, roll for some Coilers, go to 5, get whatever, right? Get a bunch of Reborn Snakes. So this in the hands of a competent player, it's really good. So if you have a doable requirement, this one will take a while. It's a difficult quest, but if you are in a spot where you can complete it, it's going to be very good for you. And I think this was probably a very, very misinterpreted quest because as per usual, you look around where people be like, oh, this is fucking awful. Like, if I attack with my 100 Augur, it's going to die. It's like, well, don't make a fucking 100 Augur with this quest, baby. I don't know. But yeah, no. The ideal play style for this is you put all your big boys that you have from, because you don't need to be like, well, I can't have any big minions. You can have like 1 or 2 big minions, but just put them all the way in the back so they never attack. And then the first 4 or 5 slots of your board, it's all token shits, so that they keep attacking, and the big minions in the back never actually get to attack. But they can still soak attacks from the enemy board, getting value. If you're not too worried about Leroy, you can even taunt 1 or 2 of them so they can just soak attacks while your tokens are getting value. I've done that too with like I had like a 26 pump bot or something. I taunted that and it was okay because it wasn't insanely bad if I got Leroy, but it's also pretty good to make sure it got some value before it attacked. So for me, it was just really, really good where it gave me a lot of freedom to do what I wanted. And yeah, I think my end game board in one of the games was like Leroy, Buster, and then like 3 mechs or something. And that was just really hard to beat with everything getting 8/8.
Yeah. And you know what would beat that? I would say I also had a great time with this thing. And I want to say Scally Pirates, Omega Broken. So strong. Yeah. It's not even fair. I played this thing. I was like, oh my God, this might be like one of the strongest board states I've ever seen. Because you can't block the pirates. They always die. It's you turn this negative into a plus with like, oh, you want to taunt with, you're going to play Void, whatever, the counter. Scally comes, which is one of like the easiest ways to deal with Scally is you put a blocker to stop the Scally going off, and then you have your big minions and you kill. Right? With this in place, you have no issues with that. You could kill everything. I beat this guy. He had a divine shield 500 something. And I was just like Scally, like, just the whole time. And I was like, oh, I won. It was like it was like 200, 500, 200, 300 million, and the Scally just kept going because I had like 3 Khadgars and a golden Khadgar, like you know what I mean. Like I had a comp, right, but it was ridiculous.
No, for sure. It's one of those things that doesn't happen very often, but when it happens, it's completely dumb because you're getting all of the upside and none of the downside. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Yeah, but yeah,
it's actually the downside becomes an insane upside, where no matter what happens, can you imagine, man? Just like you've played it.
I was summoning 100 attack Scallies because they never stopped. Like the chain never stopped, so I was just summoning 100 attack Scallies, just going in, and just like okay. I was like, oh, it keeps going. I was like we always talk about when you play Scally, like it just keeps going. But when they don't die, it literally there is no stop point, because eventually your Scallies will get too big and they'll go into something like a 20 million, which is pretty large, but like that'll stop the chain. But if they always die, the chain never stops. So definitely really strong with Scallies, but still really also good with Beasts and a lot of other mech compositions as well. So a much better quest reward than I think people are expecting, but I think as people play, they'll understand. You can really dominate a game once you activate this, and I think it's really good. So I'm with you. Looks like Shitty is doing something, so I'm going to move on.
No, I'm here. I'm just checking because we had an update in chat about certain cards being removed for a little bit.
Oh, really?
I can't find the post, so
they're lying to you.
No, I just can't find the post. So yeah, if anyone in chat has
so you're blindly believing them, is what I'm hearing.
It's Jay Carrick. So
Jay Carrick, he never says anything.
That guy. Okay. I'm over here anyway. Cookie Boss, thank you for the gifted subs. Appreciate that.
Thank you for doing my job for me. I appreciate it.
That's all right. Let's take half the sub money though.
But yeah, Volatile Venom, good cast reward, especially if you are aware of it and you play towards it. Next one we have Golden Hammer. So it's spellcraft, make a friendly minion golden until next turn. I've seen this quite a bit. I would say that this is better than Stolen Gold. I don't know if you would agree with that statement, but okay. So the nice thing about this quest reward or so is that your minions are golden during your shopping phase, I guess. So that means golden brand works, golden, I don't know, Orgazor or Tissa works. Things that scale during the shopping. Golden Nomi. I've seen someone golden with 2 Nomis, 1 golden, right? From this, so you get a lot of value during the shopping phase, which you didn't get with Stolen Gold, right? Which is why Stolen Gold is really relegated to playing Baron compositions, combo pieces, because those you could really pop off during the battle phase, and that's where it worked out. With Golden Hammer, you can really utilize the laning phase of having a golden card and scaling from there. So I actually think this is a really, really strong quest reward, and definitely something you should pick up anytime you see it and makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, I'm still digging here because the hotfix was potentially that Hammer was removed.
The Hammer was removed? Oh, okay.
For now, Hammer and Sack. So I guess we'll come back to that if I find it's the official source, but might not be in the game.
Okay, so I mean that's fine. So it looks like they're temporarily disabling the Golden Hammer and kidnap Sack quest rewards due to gameplay issues they can cause in certain situations. So that seems good. So it means that there won't be a Hammer in there, which is fine. So it was a good quest reward. Maybe too strong, you could even argue. So I think it's fine to have it removed. There are still a lot of other options to go for. So moving on from that.
No, I mean I think the nail on the head there is that okay. So if you think about it purely stolen gold comparison,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even terrible because you get to choose where it goes, and you
Mm-hmm.
still get a golden minion if purely for combat value. But once you realize that it's like, oh, I could use this on my brand, you're like, oh my god, that's insane. I could use this on my Nomi. I could use this
Mm-hmm.
on anything that's like, oh, Baron for a turn, Selfless for a turn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me just get, like you said, the Golden Urgazoa. So there's the flexibility goes through the roof. So this is one of those quests where if you can complete it in a reasonable time, it's great. Absolutely great.
Mm-hmm. All right, sounds good. I'm not gonna dilly dally since it's currently removed. Sinful Medallion. After you play a minion, give 2 other friendly minions of its Tyrant tier +2/+2. So, any thoughts about this one?
I haven't really played a lot with this. I got it offered, I
Okay.
think, once or twice. I've picked it once, and it was really nice for me when I did pick it.
Uh-huh.
Where I thought this was going to be one of those quests you had to build around, where you're like getting Deflecto and spamming 3 drops or something like that.
No.
But for me, it was just a really nice bonus to
Mm.
playing a normal style, and I just got a lot of buffs along the way. Where, excuse me, like every money pirate is free, every economy unit is very cheap, and you just like buff, 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 buff. So it's almost like you're a bit more of a Gallywix type style where you're suddenly cycling a ton of stuff just for the merit of playing the star, the specific star of the minion.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite nice for me. It was quite solid, I'd say.
Yeah, I had this a couple of times, and sometimes I don't even like think about it. I just play the turn out, and then like at the end of the turn, I'm like, oh, +16, +16. I didn't even, I forgot that I had this. So as long as you're not, uh, like it's not too hard to complete and it's like reasonable, and you're going to. So the one thing is you have to be playing minions that you're gonna keep. Right, you can't be swapping your minions out every turn, unless you're Nomi or something. But you do need to have some targets that you're like, oh, this would be good if it got buffs, essentially. So there are some compositions where you don't really care, because you're going to be switching the minions out, you're going to be replacing them. So that is the one thing. But most compositions have units that you're going to keep, so it's not a hard requirement. It's just something to be aware of. That I want to have minions that are available. So like deflectos and stuff like that are really premium, but there are still like even buffing like a brand or whatever, like that's still good, right? But that means you have to be buying 5s and like utilizing them. But like if Murazon's in, like that's super easy, right? You play Murazon, boom, and you get your money back. So it's definitely a good quest reward, I think. So that's been my experience.
Yep, just solid. I think steady, good. It's hard
Yeah,
to mess up.
Tiny Henchman's crying. Like every time we talk about this thing
Oh,
doesn't make any sense when you look at Tiny Henchman. Like it's like,
I had a tiny henchman win yesterday.
was it doing anything? Don't lie to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, no, it was actually good.
I don't
I
believe
got it
you.
on 8 gold, right? So I really rushed it, and then I was buffing parrots and selfless. So I had like huge parrots, huge selfless, and that was quite good because like the parrot can attack, survive. The selfless is then shielded and survives, and then you can like attack again
That
with the
is
parrot.
all right. That's not a common thing, though.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. I don't. It's. I mean, obviously, right? It's like I have yet another tiny henchman first place Collins that I want to share with you. But I just want to say that it's niche, but that was a cool tiny henchman game.
Okay.
Buffing parrot and selfless, but yeah. I mean, this is going to be. It's hard to compare, right? Yeah.
All right. Next one we have Kidnap Sack. So this one apparently is also removed, and I haven't seen it, so I actually don't even know how good it would be.
I play all the time with this thing.
Oh, okay.
I think it's really, really good. The
Really?
requirement is so easy.
It's so easy. Okay. And you can
I
take things from the shop, I'm assuming.
Yeah. You can grab
Okay.
things from the shop.
Okay.
So being the degenerate that I am, I ignore that option and just pick a Toxfin every turn and just make my whole board poison with this thing. But other than that, it's been great. Where it's just flexible. If you understand how your turn is going to work, you'll know whether you can afford to pick up a minion from your hand or whether you need a minion from the shop, whether you need that tempo from just having an extra body, or whether you just want the value of like picking up a buff. Because I've done this with Smoggers, where I was just buffing my I got like the 50 damage wildfire for free almost, because I was just picking up Smoggers with a brand and just like buff, 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 and go.
So I can see the real charm of this quest reward just on principle, because it's super flexible, and even the low roll, or like the worst case, which is like taking a minion from your shop, that's essentially plus 3 gold, right? So like,
yeah, if you were gonna buy that anyway, yeah.
So, and that, I mean, it's easy to, all you have to do is find a minion in the shop that you want to buy. Like that's, like,
it's only when you're like leveling, you're like, and I guess I'll just kidnap this, right? But most turns this is gonna save you minimum 3 gold.
And then also you open up like Battlecry synergy. So, and then you also open up like, let's say you got a brand or something, or even if you don't have a brand, Smogger synergy, Mirazon synergy, lots of ways to get free stats. So, you could say, oh, this gives you +5/+5 return, 0 mana +5/+5 return. That's on a minion you choose. Like, oh, that's usually a Divine Shield minion or a Cleave. Could be pretty good. So there's a lot of power in it. It looks innocent as a quest reward, but it's actually quite good.
It's very deceptive in how good it is, because you have so much flexibility. I also like another thing, right? I picked up a menace from my board to put it on the Flecto. You can do that. Some cool little shit like that.
Why was the menace on your boards?
It was proccing my quest for my kidnap
I knew it. I know.
Of course. Why else do we play a naked menace? Right? I mean, sometimes it's just the best. Like 3-on-3. It's just the best. So.
The best card, yeah.
I like this quest reward a lot. So I'd be pretty sad if it's true that this is disabled for now. And if it is, then I hope that it's
not too long.
Quickly, right? Yeah, because for me it's been my best quests a lot of the time, where I just be like, ooh, nice, I can just take this.
But it's because it's probably so easy to proc, and you love those quests.
Yeah, I do love the flexibility of getting an early quest and just working with it. Because when you look at it, it's not like this is like, oh my god, it's insane getting a minion from the shop or bouncing a jug. It's stupid. But just flexibility is key in this game. So just being able to figure out what you want. We talk about it a lot, where the higher level gameplay you go, the more these flexible things get rewarded, and the less it's funny, because when you compare this to Tiny Henchman, this probably does worse than Tiny Henchman on lower MMR, because you have to think about how to use kidnaps.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Like those type of rewards require thinking to utilize to the max efficiency. So yeah, of course it's going to be worse than free stats every turn for sure. So that's not like too weird. But
right. That's the new quest rewards, which cool, man. I like it.
Overall, I think a lot of interesting quests, except for the Zeros one. So
I still like that one. Maybe if I get high rolled enough, I'll probably not like it anymore. I haven't been burned enough by people with stupid cards on their board early.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming, Shady.
It's coming, it's coming. Oh no.
So we do have some quests and quest reward updates. So find a murder weapon, which was, I believe, buff a minion number of times, had his requirement reduced. That's because they removed spawn and URL, but we haven't dude, this is a long patch.
Yeah. I was just looking at. Ooh, we're nearly done. Oh, we have to start the minions. Cool. It's not that many minions, but it's minions for sure.
Oh, we're not like, you don't want to like cut it in half and do it next week, or no?
I will keep that option reserved if it's really necessary, but it's not that many minions. We'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Okay, all right. Copium. All right. Well, you asked for it now. Anima Bribe has been removed from the reward pool, which I think a lot of people liked that quest reward. So, pretty sad to see that go.
Yeah.
Theotar's Parasol has been returned to the reward pool. which initially I would have not liked, but some of the other changes this patch made me not worry about it too much. So I don't mind it now with some of the other changes. And then Stolen Gold has appearance rate reduced by 50%, which made sense because they had the Golden Hammer, and Golden Hammer is kind of like a very similar Stolen Gold. So they didn't want to have like lots of people having Stolen Gold Hammer, because we had that gameplay in the very beginning of the meta, and it was not healthy. So
Not enjoyable.
yeah,
Be like, all right, 3 people with stolen gold in the lobby.
I'm playing
Just
for
gotta
top
hope-
4. Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta get top 3. Let's hope one of them dies because they're too greedy, and then get a nice little top 3. But you knew you weren't playing for first or second most of the time.
yeah. All right. So now we can go towards the minions. A lot of new minions. Really interesting changes there. First one we have is Dozy Whelp, Tavern Tier 1 Dragon. 0 attack, 3 health, taunt. Whenever it's attacked, you gain 1 health permanently. So the nice thing about this is it gets the attack before the damage. So I remember talking about this when it came out, and I played like a game with it. And I was like, oh no, you take the damage first. And then I played another game, and I was like, wait, I was wrong. I liked that person. So yeah, you get the attack first. So it is, if it gets attacked, it's essentially a 1-3, which isn't like atrocious. Like a lot of things will tie with this. Surprisingly, I would say, right? Like a 2-3. No, a 2-3 doesn't tie because it attacks and then.
Yeah, this is good early.
Yeah.
It's just basically a 1-3 with upside, which is solid.
Yeah. So definitely, I think it's a good card. Open some stuff. Patient Scout. So this card, when I looked at it initially, it scared me. I would say, because I'm like, you know me. Oh my god, free 6-drops. that's how I looked at it. But I do think it is a pretty decent downside to have to play a 1-1 on your board. And sometimes you'll take extra damage and you'll feel pressured and you can't you can't go for a 6. So I do think if you played reasonably and you get like a 4 or something, then it's pretty good. But if you want to greed it out, then you can really get punished for this.
Yeah, having being required to have a 1-1 on your board is a huge downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tried it? Have you greeted any stories?
I pulled a 5 with this once, but I'm mostly more conservative. Where I use this as economy, so I cycle it for economy a lot of the time. Where
so you cycle it for a 1-drop and like you'll get like a Elemental or something. Is that what?
Yeah, something like that, or specifically. So this is something cool when I have Bran. You can make money off this where you buy it, you sell it, and you get like the coin Naga. So depending on what I have and depending on the things that I'm okay with hitting, because I think I specifically remember having Bran with Nagas in and a reroll guy on my board. So I was like, oh, I get Sally, it's really good. I get the coins, it's really good.
That's definitely an interesting way of using it. Not using it for like a power spike, but using it just for economy play.
Yeah, which is typical shady stuff where it's like, oh, just greeted for a 6. Nah, just use it, man. Like, I get like Peggy on my board. I use this to get more cards in my hand. I discover bacon with this stuff. I sell it. I get gems. Oh, tempo. So yeah, I'm more using this for cycling 1-drops than to push for a 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually have not been doing that at all, so maybe I'm trolling. Actually, now I think about it.
I mean, there's certain stuff like, well, you wouldn't know, but if you're playing Kurt, this is good because you can cycle for easy stuff.
I bet it's good or Kurt, whatever.
also quests, right? Certain quests.
Yeah, exactly.
It's easy to complete certain quests, and I was thinking if there was something else. I mean, obviously Gallywix, right? Playing Gallywix,
of course. This
is insane because this can discover Alleycat, this can discover Elemental. So that's this like insane minion for Gallywix.
We still need to. I mean, at least I still need to like relearn what's broken now with these changes. You know what I mean? Like, oh, Gallywix is pretty good now. Like, where?
I guess it's this insane Gallywix buff. The fact that there's minions in the game.
Yeah. Next one we have Bristlemain Scrapsmith. Tavern Tier 3 Quillbore, 4 attack, 4 health. After a friendly taunt minion dies, you get a blood chill. So I haven't really utilized this that much. I played a bit, it never felt like, oh my god. But then again, I don't have boards full of taunts, so maybe that's my downside. But do you have like a better experience? Have you been abusing this in some way? Anything like that?
Yeah, this is really one of those cards that you can pick up if it makes sense, but it's tell you what, it ain't no gem splitter, man. This is, I will give you one broken thing.
Okay.
Graybow with this thing.
Oh, Graybow.
On, baby.
I don't play Graybow. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
That's a handful of gems every turn, almost no matter what you do. So yeah, specifically on Graybow, this is way better than Gem Splitter. I think on all the other heroes, it's worse than Gem Splitter.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you. I don't really like this one. For me.
So they kill off Gem Splitter if it wasn't obvious. We'll talk about the minions that are removed from the pool, but I think it's hard to talk about.
Do you want to talk about them first, actually? Does that make more sense?
Let's see which ones they are. Yeah, we can do that, so they have that in mind.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that many anyway, right? Yeah, so we have Spawn. Oh, that's weird. They're not. Oh, they're alphabetical. Okay. we'll go on tier, right? So
okay, Spawn, that's fair. Spawn and URL. Yeah.
Those are two, and I actually checked with the devs whether that was very specifically because they were getting used too much to cheese the stat quest, or whether they just need space, and apparently they just needed space. So it's not like it was like spawning a rel or breaking the quest meta. It's like, hey, we made 2 drops. Somebody's got to go. All right, you two, get out of here. So yeah,
I like Spawn, Pepe Hounds.
I really liked Urel, which is funny because I liked Urel more because of you. I think you introduced me to
I did.
The Urel.
I did.
So, yeah, which is funny because I was slam dunk in so many just URLs early where I was like, oh, URL in the shop. I'm not going 3-on-3 no matter what. I'm buying a URL. So I was having a good time with that. But yeah, so I'd say Spawn, URL is a bit annoying. I played with them a lot. But the 2 that really hurt for me, well, first we'll do the 3-drop. Nightmare Amalgam's out. But that's because they printed one on tier 4. We'll talk about.
Yeah, when I read the extra tier 4, I was like, it has all. I was like, what are they doing? Amalgam and Nightmare, and I was like, then I saw that they're removing it. I was like, oh, okay.
The ones that I really don't like that they pulled out is they removed Gem Splitter and Reef. I think that Reef was such an insanely fun card with Bran, man. Like. Hoss had so many turns and was like, play the Reef, get the coin naga, print some coins, get a Selly, get some more money, and just so many fun.
I've played some games thinking Reef was it.
Oh right, yeah. No,
I have played some games. And I was like, where is it?
Where are the Reefs, man? So, I mean, you know that I draft Peggy super highly, right? So like Reef and Peggy is just so good because like let's say Quillbore in, but you don't have one anymore. The Reef can give you the bacon, and that's amazing. But yeah, the one that probably affects core strategy the much is Gem Splitter because Gem Splitter was
crying.
Yeah, but also just any hero that wouldn't like to play a tier 4 comp, right? Where the Deflecto Gem Splitter was such a really, really good strategy, and they didn't really kill it off, but it's heavily weakened with this subpar Gem Splitter that's been printed.
It's not a Gem Splitter.
No, you can taunt the shields, right? So you can and I've
disgusting.
I know it's annoying, but I've right. So Nosy Looter's also been removed, but who cares?
Poor Nosy. Yeah.
Poor Nosy. So if we go to Scrapsmith, it's a 4/4, and every time a taunt dies, you get a blood gem. So I've definitely played around a bit with this, where I taunted a sewer rat. So I was like, all right, you give me 2 gems per turn, and then for the rest, I just had Divine Shield taunts. You can use a Sparring Partner or the new taunt Battle Cry on a Bronze Warden, and then that's fine. So I think you can still emulate a Gem Splitter setup where you have 1 or 2 Deflectos not taunted, and then 2 or 3 minions taunted. If one of the it's not the same. No. It's not the same. But if one of those taunt minions is a sewer rat, that's 2 gems, and then the other 2 are shields. It's another 2 taunts. That's 4 gems per turn, 8 gems if it's golden. It's really budget stuff because Gem Splitter would overflow your hands with gems all the time. The Deflecto would attack, reset, get the shield back, get attacked into again. Golden gem splitter. 2 more gems. 10 gems every turn. It's so good. But to be fair, back when Flat Tusk was a thing, you would very regularly skip Flat Tusk because you had a gem splitter on your board, which was also not balanced, because when your 3-drop gem generation is better than your 6-drop gem generation, you kind of have a problem there. So, and this was honestly, a lot of my compositions had the same with Dark Gaze, where Dark Gaze was definitely a step up from Flat Tusk. But if you still have a normal Ground Shaker comp with Gem Splitter and Deflectos, Gem Splitter is just better than your
Dark Gaze.
Than your Dark Gaze. So I can understand that they maybe had to remove it or nerf it, because that card was very, very good. Like you could win complete mid games because of a good Gem Splitter comp, but then you could also win the game afterwards. It's not like, it's only a top 4 composition. No, you can actually win the game with a good Gem Splitter.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's basically my my take on it. Where maybe this is more where the power level should have been of Gem Splitter, where it's like, okay, it will generate some gems, but it won't always just fill your hand with 10 gems. Like maybe that's just too powerful. If we have a mid game composition that can reliably give you 10 gems every turn, that's maybe too much.
Maybe. Anyway. I mean, I feel you.
I mean, I'm one of the main people that gets hurt by this. Like, Quillbore Mech was literally my most played comp, right? I would spam that shit. I play so much Deflectobot, Gem Splitter, Ground Shaker. So yeah, obviously when I read it, I was like,
I actually don't get hurt that much. I don't play Quillbore Mech that much. So, but I still feel it. I still think, I still respected Gem Splitter for what it did. So. And anytime I was feeling rough, having a bad day, I could rely on Gem Splitter. Give me a bucket. Next here we have Faceless Disciple, Tavern Tier 3. 6 attack, 4 health, battle cry, transform a minion into one of a tier higher. So I've seen some pretty weird boards because of this card where people just have like 6s. It's like turn 6. I'm just like, why do you have this? But yeah, I mean, it opens up. I mean, it opens up not having to level. They've really been adding that, adding cards that you don't have to level anymore. Like with Elise, with the other thing that does that. I don't remember the name. The card that does that thing. Faceless, Zerus, some Toki hero power changes. Whatever it is, but there's a lot more. There's a lot less prestige, I guess, on getting 6 drops. Maybe that's the way I should say it. Where you can get it like very randomly nowadays.
Yeah, I'm not sure if prestige is the right word, but I know what you're trying to say. They're just way more accessible.
Yeah. It's not accessible. There's a lot more accessibility for 6 drops. That's maybe a better way. I like that. I like that sound.
If I were a team, Collins.
But what's your thoughts on it?
So this minion for me, and obviously I might change my opinion on this, but for me it usually doesn't feel like it's worth the investment. Where I'm just, because it's a Discover would obviously be broken, right? Like you can't have this Discover, but it's like Malagos with the buddy. How many times did you play that and you're like, zap it? Not good enough. So you have to pay 2 gold for this every time you buy it and play it. So
you're saying you're not as lucky as me. So
I will say that for my current playstyle, later in the game, I think early, like if you're on tier 3, or let's say you go 3-on-3 and this is in your shop, because it's a 6/4. That's a big deal, right? It's not a
the stat line is crazy, I think, for the ability.
So I say early, there is no cost attached to this, almost, because you have to buy a card anyway and you're not rolling. So early, yes.
And making a 4 is 5 is fine.
Yeah.
And another thing is you can turn that 4 into a 5. And you can you can stack it.
Yeah. So if you're going like 3-on-3, this is probably one of your best hits. I'm more talking later in the game when you're just browsing and you see this pop up in the shop. I tend to not pick it to see if I get lucky because it's 2 gold every time. Now, of course, if it's like 3 or 4 good hits, then sure, let's talk. But if I'm just like, well, I kind of
Yeah,
just need this,
you
then
definitely, yeah, I would say you definitely have to know the 6-drop pool, because this is something that uh, maybe you do when you're playing like Gallywix or something, but you don't do when you see this in your shop. You're just like, oh, I'll just buy it. But when you look at Gallywix, right, you look at, oh, what's on 6 or what's on 5, what's good for me, right? And then you're like, oh, these are good 6 drops, 5 drops, whatever. Let's play the hero, right? But you don't do that when you're like mindlessly rolling a faces, like, oh, let's just try. It's Nadina, and you're just like, wait, what? What were my options? Oh, right, it's like I could get young Murkai, dragons, like some random nonsense that you don't need, right? You gotta look at the pool and see, are there a lot of 6s that I can build around, and if there are, then yeah, this is a like, it's okay to try like once early in the game to see, oh, do I have no direction, let me try, see, oh, I hit something, then I'll build around it, right? But if you're just absentmindedly playing and like, oh, I want a 6, and like, oh, there's no good 6s, then yeah, it's gonna feel really bad. So you just have to be aware. It's kind of like when you're playing Gallywix. Like, are there a lot of hits that feel good that I'll be happy with? If the answer is yes, then yeah, I think you can play this, or you can try it. Obviously, later the game goes on, the worse it gets. But early, if you get this early and you have a 5 randomly, and you're like, okay, it seems fine to see if you can get a full direction from it, in my opinion.
the funny thing is that you mentioned Adina, but the one time where I did do a Hail Mary was earlier today, where I was playing dragons and like, ooh, wow, I need Adina. And I
Okay.
just popped an Adina. I was like, oh, that's pretty damn good, chat.
Okay.
But no, I hear you. I think this is one of those things where the knowledge of the pool does get heavily rewarded. So
Mhm.
understanding when you actually have a good chance to hit, as to, oh, this is just like a 1 in 9 or 12 or whatever. That's probably not a good bet to take. So the consensus, I think, is fair, where you say good early most of the time because it's a good stat line,
Mhm.
and then later in the game use it if you have several minions that are good for you, not when it's just
Mhm.
one,
Yeah.
maximum two.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can always shoot minions in the shop as well. Some of this, like, in case like you want the battle cry, Uther or whatever. I don't know. Like, it might open you up for that. So might just something to mention. You can target minions in the shop. Um, Next one we have Vigilant Stoneborn, Tavern tier 4. So it's a 2 attack, 6 health minion, but you're really buying it for the battle cry. Give a minion plus 6 health and taunt. So plus 6 health and taunt battle cry minion. So that's a lot of stats. That's a lot of stats. So the one caveat is the taunt. You have to be aware, like, oh, I'm taunting this minion now, and I can't lose taunt. But if you have a minion you don't care about taunting, or a minion that you want to taunt, like best one or high value one is Trickster, this can be a really, really good target, or a good piece to be looking for. So any extra follow ups?
I think it's one of my probably favorite editions, where it just feels good to play this card. Where a lot of the time I got to taunt something anyway. I'm like, ooh, I get 6 extra health on my Leroy. That's so nice here. Where a lot of the time that's sort of an issue. Leroy specifically, where you get blastered.
Mm-hmm.
So this solves that issue. Also means that if you're playing Bran, this is a really good hit, where 12 health on something early on is no joke.
Mm-hmm.
That's, yeah, you triple into this thing. So let's say I had like a picky eater that got up to 30 health in no time. Because like I played it with Bran on the board. I was playing Bran,
Mm-hmm.
and then I played one of these guys, another 12 health. So yeah, if you have anything that has a reasonable amount of attack already and you give it plus 12 health, you're gonna be winning those early rounds like
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like that we have this as a utility, because very often now that we just have sparing partner for taunt, I found myself in a spot where, ooh, I don't fight the taunt, I don't fight the taunt.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Like,
Really like a disruption to taunt.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm down with that that statement. Sometimes I was just rolling it down, especially like I play more Scally comp than you, I think, and sometimes I've rolled like 4 turns for a sparring partner, and I'm like, it's a tier 2 minion. Where is it? Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. So definitely more taunt options. I think is healthier. So I'm happy with it. And you can still play for tempo. So it's not like Sparring Partner where it's only taunt and nothing else. Like you can put this on Mantic Queen, and you're like, wow, I've got the
Yeah,
taunt
yeah,
and the health. So pretty cool.
relevant.
Next up, we have Ball of Minions, Tyrant Tier 4, but it's an Amalgadon type, so it has every single type. It's a 5 attack, 5 health. When you sell this, give its stats to a random friendly minion. So, Amalgam's been
Probably
replaced
the
once
crazy
again.
addition, I would say. This shit.
You think this is
Have you,
crazy?
have you not had crazy Ball of Minions games?
I have, but
Okay.
I want to dive into it. Like,
All right, all right. So this does not look crazy at all, Collins. Do you have any anecdotal evidence to prove that it might be pretty good?
well, I mean, let's say you toxfin it, then you sell it, you give the poison to a random. No, it doesn't.
Oh God, please. No. Well, first,
No.
did we cover that the golden one is two? Or
No, we haven't. So the golden version, when we haven't talked about golden versions at all, but
yeah, but this one matters, right?
yeah,
Like the others didn't matter. Golden version. It's double, right? Most people know it's double.
yeah,
But
you give the stats to a random friendly minion. What if it said you give double your stats to 2 random friendly minions?
oh, you're like double, double.
Double,
Yeah,
double.
dude, it's already broken. So
What makes it broken, Shady?
what makes it broken? Yeah. When I'm routinely playing fucking cookbook and I'm like, you buy the 50 health ball of minions, you sell the 50 health
So
ball
it's
of
good
minions.
with cookbook. Okay. Well,
Good with,
cookbook's already broken.
it's insane with cookbook. It's insane with Nomi. It's
Okay,
really good.
that's another
If you're
one.
playing the Yawk quest that buffs the shop, if you're playing demons that buff the shop, if you're doing like Peggy and you buff this on your board with the Peggy and then you golden it and then you sell it and like
Yeah.
because with Peggy you get like 80 health pirates, right? Sometimes
Very easily. Yeah.
you just keep going, right? It's not, like if Quillbore were in, that's nothing for a Peggy. She just keeps going and keeps going. So imagine if you have 2 ball of minions and then you triple it and you have this 80 health ball of minions and then you sell it. Like you're adding 80 to 2 minions. So effectively that 80 minion now doubles in size where instead of 1 80 you have 2 80. So I think that this is probably a never skip early in the game where you just pick this up because when you golden it, you get a triple, which is already good, but then the value from the stat increase is so nice.
Do you think
And
this
then,
is too strong? Now that I'm thinking about it. Like
yeah, yeah,
there should be some adjustment to this card.
I think it's well. I mean, we'll see, right? We'll see. But what I can safely say is, if you have any kind of shop manipulating mechanic that is significant, so let's say +10 stats or more, it's really dumb. Like you just buy this and sell this, and it's such an insane increase. Also, you like Millhouse buys this and sells this insanely cheap, right? It's not a problem. Gallywix as well. You just cycle the sucker. So
Yeah. The more we talk about it, the more I think like, ooh, this might be bad design in terms of
it's very
what health, like how healthy it is for other people playing around people that can abuse this. So like, people that have cookbook, like if you're not that guy, like how do you deal with someone who can play with who can
yeah,
mess
yeah. Like
around with this?
I was doing this with Nomi, and like this is. I think I fought Waterloo earlier
Mhm.
today, and he had
Mhm.
like a 170 Nomi, and
Right.
that's just because he sold
Because he
Ball of
sold
Minions
one,
and hit
yeah.
Nomi. Right, so it's like, okay, bro, you're just like as a random side effect, you
Yeah.
gave like 160 stats to your Nomi. Okay, bro. Now, obviously, that's massive. Like maybe it wasn't even that much, but it was over 100, easily over 100,
Yeah,
and
because I would say I've been seeing bigger boards this patch than I've seen in a while,
yeah,
and it's probably due to like cards
yeah,
like this.
people randomly sell ball
Yeah.
because we can cover so many angles, right? Because what we're talking about right now is just one scenario, but you also just have the scenario where it's not insane, but you were just buffing something and you had to make board space anyway. You can sell this, and then you don't lose the stats, and that's like probably the least good version of this card. Is like I needed space and I sold it and I didn't lose value.
Mhm.
But then you can module it, you can toxfin it as well. Like it's insane. Like you can buy this early every time almost because you either abuse it for like an insane stat machine, or you make it Divine Shield poison, or you could give it reset, so it resets your Deflecto bot. It's just like the moment you make something an amalgam type, we know that it's already very useful.
Yeah.
And then you give it this sick effect of just like, you can't give something this much utility and give its great stat gain ability as well. It's so, yeah. So
I think it's clear to say this is definitely the busted card of the patch.
So I don't know for sure yet, right? I've just had very good games.
You like doing that? I'm not doing that. I'm locking it in. Final answer. This is this is the busted card of this patch.
Go for the million, Collins. All right, let's go for the million.
I definitely think the amount of abuse you can do with this, especially like it's just a good card, and amalgam cards tend to be the biggest on your board. Like if you like, even without like trying, they just tend to be the biggest.
They'll take everything.
And the moment you golden this, you get a golden, and then you could just sell your biggest minion, double it up, make 2 threats, and you can, like, if you have 4 of these, you know, like let's say Murlocs are in, so you're just you're primal finning more copies of this. You just sell this and you hit the other one. Oh, okay. Like, I'm good. Yeah, no, so it's a bit.
Yeah, I tell you on this now, and now you're like, no, Shady, no. Not if you open my eyes. This shit is broken.
No. I knew it was. I wanted to leave. I wanted to, you know, I wanted a nice conversation before I started, you know, hammering it down. And
it's broken.
It's broken. For sure.
All right, fun.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely a card you should be playing with if you want to win. So yeah, but Cookbook Nomi, that kind of synergy, it's definitely abusable. I just don't think that's balanced at all. So weird addition. But I mean, I don't know, like, because the old amalgam was fine-ish, right? Like, you know, it wasn't like
more than fun. I drafted old amalgam all the time.
No, I know. I mean, like, but like in terms of like design space. I mean,
oh, right. Yeah. No, I think you really want something to be the glue between 2 comps.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you lose so much fun. If you can't do like Peggy Amalgam Master, it's like the bridge between, I've got this pirate engine, but then I've also got this elemental stuff, or I'm playing Major Domo, but then it's on an amalgam, and I have this mama bear, and this amalgam gets buffed and stuff. It's fun. I think you do really want to have something that's the glue between certain playstyle minion comps. Yeah,
I think more what they were thinking is they wanted amalgam on 4, because I think maybe like 3 is too good, but
it's too weak.
Yeah, but they didn't want it to be a carbon copy of like, we're just gonna move amalgam to 4. They're like, okay, let's make something new. So they added this like extra like cell effect, but you know, they hadn't had abusers. You know, I'm an abuser in this case.
Crazy.
Like people that would just like hammer these broken mechanics like until you're sick of it, right? I don't think they had that there. So now that we get to play with it, it's like, I don't think this is good.
Broken.
Yeah, so
it's fun though, right?
It's fun until you know everyone's doing it and they hit you for no reason.
When you start fighting someone, like, well, literally the only reason I lose to you is because you hit a golden ball of minions. Nice.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, so kind of weird. I mean, I understand it. I don't know. Like it feels like the effect was like a afterthought, I guess. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like they needed an amalgam, they wanted it on 4, and then they're like, let's do something cool with it. And then it's like, oh yeah, like, but like, are they gonna play around this effect? Maybe not, but we end up doing that. But yeah, I mean, whatever. Right now, it's very strong, very good, and I would say play with it. But moving on, we need to finish this up. Interrogator White Mane, Tyrant tier 5, 8 attack, 5 health, start of combat. Give the enemies opposite this taunt, they take double damage. I think this card's really cool. It also opens up counters. I would say like this with cleave is not balanced. Like I'm not entirely out of it yet. Whether
I think this card is awful or good for the game because it's
I
so
feel you.
specific. Yeah, right. Because so the main idea behind this is a counter to combo
Baron.
setups.
The Baron.
Well, Baron, but also Khadgar, also Mama Bear, just anything that
Okay.
hides,
Sure.
right? Anything that hides in the back gets exposed with this.
Sure.
So the that's the logic behind it.
Mhm.
So that alone you can already talk about. Should that exist, where you can go so invasive, right? Where you're like, all right,
I like that personally because
right.
well, okay, I do not like Leaper comps.
No,
let me full disclosure. I'm not a fan of this composition. So being able to be like, you know what, let me just murder you. I do think there are some answers to Leaper comps. Just like as people play the game, like on Barrel, like you can kill everything at once.
The
you know, like,
easy is Blaster Baron,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's such a good role. That's like all reliable. Frogs, no problem.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dust off my all reliable Blaster Baron.
But now Paracel's in, you know, and stuff like that. So
but you don't taunt the stealth, do you?
No.
You don't taunt the stealth, right?
I mean, you would, right? Wouldn't you? The thing is, the stealth wouldn't matter, though.
No, okay, but let's say if you white main a stealth Baron, you can't attack the Baron.
No, you can't attack this hat. But you can white main the left of it.
Oh, you just mean like you can open a cleave.
Yeah, you can mess up the position. Like if you taunt there and you wildfire the board, like then
you can do all kinds.
Yeah, of like so you open up ways to deal with it. Is what I'm saying. Like essentially, and
so go ahead.
And I'm okay with that, but I do think that the more normal application is cleave, and that one's a bit toxic. I would say that one's a bit.
A bit. Okay.
Okay, it's quite bad when and you're taking double damage, right? It's not even like it's not just give your minion taunt, which I do think is.
Yeah, it's just double. But the thing is, I do think you want the double damage just because otherwise it's so.
Yeah, it's a lackluster effect. Otherwise, I agree with you.
Because already this is a wasted
of a slot.
Yeah, it's a wasted buy and a wasted shop slot or a board slot a lot of the time where you're like, I taunted it, but I didn't attack.
Yeah, I don't mind the double damage. I think that's fine.
Yeah, but no, I think where this card truly gets toxic is Wind Fury Cleave, taunt minion number 5 or 6, ba-bam, ba-bam. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Were you playing around Cleave? I don't give a shit. Was that a Leroy next to your other taunt? Oh, sorry, I avoided that one. Oh, it's straight for your backline. Like, oh god, that's so like that's minus 30, right? Like in terms of health total, when a Wind Fury Cleave actually cleaves your whole board, that's minus 30 health. You're dead. It's if it's a Foe Reaper and the rest is like, like Naga buffing, it's so disgusting. And then obviously the white main hasn't died yet either, so it's another 5 damage. So that's I think I share your concern where I haven't really been like, damn it, people have used white main to counter my combo. It's like, oh, you literally just taunted
my
back.
That's true. That right. The expectation or like what you're hoping is like, oh, you set up this combo piece and they smartly, you lose to them the turn before, and then they smartly buys the white main, they put it in, they snipe your Baron, and you're like, no, you found the counter, and you're like, damn, you are, game design, but what happens is they don't care, they just have this already in their Wind Fury Cleave, and they're just like, your board's dead, take 30, you're dead, no answer. Like, and that's the reality of what people are doing with it, and the imagination of what you're thinking when you decide this card is in what people are like, this is more effective to just cleave their whole board and have no answers. Like, so it's rough, right? Because like I like the idea of like being able to dismantle, a Leaper comp or a Buster comp cleanly, but people just cleave me, and it's not cool.
They don't play nice, right?
Yeah.
Like, feels like this card indeed was designed like, come on guys, play nice, just use it on their Baron. Yeah, we'll use it on their Baron. And the rest of their board as well. We cleave. Because it's like the players with like the blocks going in the right hole with like everything goes in the cleave hole. The cleave hole,
The
man.
cleave.
White man goes in the cleave hole. Wind Fury, that goes great on my cleave. Divine Shield, that goes great on my cleave. Yeah, no, that's so mixed feelings about this card, because I think the original design, the way how it probably was meant, like the spirit of the card is, hey, this taunts the Baron. It gives you a chance. And the cool play is you can do mind games. The opponent can move the Baron up or down, right? Depending on where you think the white main's going to go.
Yeah.
And I've had a little bit of those things where I've had to guess where they were going to move their stuff, and then a white main to right stuff. And that feels good, right? You feel like, yes, like I
Is there a way to change this to like avoid that situation? Like
avoid that cleave. I think just the ability to taunt something on your opponent's board, you're always going to open up.
What if you make it like give minions with less attack than this taunt? Huh? Then you can kind of play around it. Like,
wait, what do you mean?
Like if it has less attack than white main, essentially.
Then only then white main's effect would go off.
Yeah, but you don't have to position, I guess. So
that's very
is that too good? I'm just trying to
wait. You say automatically taunt everything on the enemy board that has less attack than this?
Yeah. I'm just spitballing, like there's 5 seconds.
That's too wide of an effect, I think, for me to process right now and tell you that it sounds like it's crazy, but yeah, maybe
but like if they're doing that, then you're like, okay, maybe I won't play this. But I guess it dismantles some complete comps completely, right? Like, and that's too good, right? Like,
yeah, it's
you couldn't play like Buster comp, right? Yeah. I'm just thinking about that. Yeah, it's too good. Yeah, I guess you'd have to have the maybe opposite this as well, on top of it, or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's one of those cards where I think it's hard to make it do what you want it to do.
Yeah. Currently, I would say it's problematic in how people are using it. So that's the issue, and I like the idea of the card though. You know what I mean? Like I like the idea, but how people are using it is not the idea.
So, stop! You weren't supposed to cleave.
You weren't supposed to cleave. I like this.
No, I had such a sad loss when I had this like really strong Mama Bear board, but my backline was Mama Croc, and he taunted the middle Mama and cleaved, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm dead. I was so strong, man. I was so strong, but he killed 2 Mama Bears and 1 Croc with a cleave. Yeah. It was like, oh, I'm so fucking dead.
Yeah.
Right. It's enough about this card. But yeah, you get the point, guys. We like the idea, but cleave.
Cleave. Oh, you cleave. Yeah.
And now the funny thing is, like, the people listening to the podcast were like, I hadn't thought about.
Yeah, cleave. I know. That's this is anytime we're having these conversations, I'm like, do we say this?
The word is out, right? This is a cleave card. It's not an anti-Baron card. Yeah.
Perfect hands. All right, next one we have Vanessa Van Cleave, Town Tier 5 Pirate, 3 attacks, 7 health. Whenever this attacks, give your minions +2/+1 permanently.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of cool because I don't think pirates really have this kind of effect, except for Hogger Peggy shenanigans. But if you're at that stage of the game that you're like already happy, you don't care. But like this is something you could triple into if you're playing pirates, and like you're like, oh, I guess it's fine. Like it's not Hogger, but I guess it's fine. And I also have seen people use this with Tony and make this golden, and then this feels kind of good. Give +4/+2 attack, and if you have Nagas with Wind Fury, you can double dip. So there are some ways to make this great. I do think like as a baseline, this isn't like a premium card. This isn't something like you can build around, but it's kind of nice to have something to make your pirates stronger. That isn't just Peggy, because that's really the only thing they had going for in terms of pirates. So I'm kind of okay with it.
Peggy Salty Looter, right? Uh-huh. But yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment where I don't think this is a card where you're like, oh, I'm hard rolling for Vanessa Van Cleave. No. But it's one of those like, hey, I've got 3 pirates on my board and that's an early Vanessa. Sweet, let's put it in the front. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
Like I like it. I like it in that way. So it's I think it's a nice addition. I think for now it's fun to have, and then sometimes you're gonna golden it, and then it does rack up rather nicely.
Better than Nosy.
Yeah, way better than Nosy.
Dude,
For
Nosy
the
catching strays.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think that's correct. Where it's sometimes you just have a pirate start, and then the thing is like, then it was either Hog or Eliza or transition
nothing.
out of it,
Yeah.
because you're not pirates. Like if you don't have Hog or Eliza, you're not pirates. And now you could actually play a little bit of mid-range pirates when you have like 2 Vanessas in the front, Peggy, Salty Looter, and Ripsnarl in the back or something. Suddenly, like you can actually survive with that pirate build a little while longer. So probably massive patches buffs, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but I don't play patches.
Yeah, neither do I. So I guess we don't care. But Patches is a hero that very frequently finds himself with a board full of pirates.
Pirates had nothing to do with them, yeah.
Yeah, and then you really like, well, I need Hog or Eliza or I'm dead.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, I can just play Vanessa in the front for a while, and then I can still transition later. Yeah. But yeah, no, overall, I think it's a nice addition.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, and then the last but not least, the Walking Fort. Tavern tier 6. We're getting a new 6 drop because Nosy's dying. 4 attack, 6 health. Okay. At the end of your turn, give 4 friendly taunt minions +4/+4. That's right. You heard me right, guys. 4/4 on 4 friendly minions. That's +16/+16 a turn. That's a lot of stats. What's your thoughts on that, City?
I think it's one of those feel-good cards where at the end of the turn, you're just watching boards and you're like, this is good. This is fun to watch. So I think this card mainly is a no Murloc card.
Yeah.
But in Murloc lobbies, if you can taunt shields, it's not that bad.
That's also true.
Yeah, mainly it's just a ball of stats, buffing.
That's good. We go stats.
So I probably my most fun game with this is when I had a golden fort, a regular fort, and mask, and I was sitting like, oh, so many bombs. Like I play like one random taunt to end on. It's like a 50-50 or some shit, right?
You had what mask? Oh, Ghastly Mask. Oh,
yeah.
Oh my god.
So effectively, it was 2 golden forts and 2 regular forts.
Oh, that's so good. I haven't seen that. No. Oh my god.
I had a really good time with this shit. Because it's actually one of the mask rewards. So mask always gives you a minion. Yeah, so you can get Walking Fort mask. But it's Felbat type difficulty, of course. It's a 6 drop.
That's better than Felbat though.
Yeah. Well, depending on the board.
I guess, I mean, you're getting it, right? So you better have some taunts when it triggers.
You prep for it.
I'd be mad at you if I'm watching your game and you.
The hilarious part.
And you're like, okay, we got the fort. Let's buy some taunts. I'm like, no. I'll be mad at you. Oh my god.
The hilarious part is that I buff the same thing as with Felbat most of the time anyway, because I love buffing tricksters with this. So
okay.
Yeah. In both of the games where I did really well with Fort, I just taunted tricksters with the new 4 drop.
The +6.
Yeah. So I had pretty good minions on my board, and then eventually you triple it, and then you have this like 170 health trickster or some crazy shit at some point.
Right.
And then it's easy to always just fit another taunt in. And this kind of style works really well with the finishing touch of add Leroy, add Queen, because you're going to build 4 chunkers and you need 3 extra slots on your board. So it's pretty perfect in that regard, where it's 4
the finishing touch you do on every build. You're cooking any dish. You're like, this dish could use a little bit Leroy, a little bit bad.
Leroy's it's everywhere, but no, but real. I'd say Walking Fort and Theodore. Those are 2 compositions that really open up Leroy Manted, because their core is 3 to 4 minions. So that's really a very, whereas you have other builds where it's a bit harder to fit it in the Leroy Demented. Of course, if you try hard enough, you can fit
Shady
it in.
finds a way. Yeah, it's like you're saying
this 50-50 minion, how good is it really? Get the fuck out, play a Leroy, right? Like you can do that, but in this build, you don't have to sell a 50-50. That's what I'm saying. The stats don't go to waste because you buff only 4 minions. So yeah.
Fair
Anyway,
enough.
so
But you
yeah, I
like
like
it.
it.
You like it. Okay.
I think it's really like a Timmy card, if that makes sense. Yeah, if you know like the Magic archetypes, like this is a Timmy likes this card, so Timmy also likes it more when Murlocs are out. So that's
Timmy
me. I was
doesn't
like,
know. You just-
I embrace my inner Timmy and be like, Murlocs are out. All right, let's build a big board. Let's have some fun with that.
Sounds good. So I think it's a fun card to play for sure. We still have a couple current
Some
minions the updates. So some minions are already in the game. They're getting a little bit of changes to.
Basically, only profit of the board. Taragosa doesn't really get a meaningful change.
It does. It doesn't get taunt for randomly now. I mean, you know.
Right, it doesn't keep white main.
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
I mean,
get white main, so it is a function.
You weren't getting white mains before the patch, right? So there's no meaningful change to Taragosa. But yeah. Well, all right. So profit of the board, essentially, it's way better now, right? They turned it from being a 2-drop 3/3 into a 2/3, but for that one lost attack, you get taunt, which we've already seen is relevant for a number of reasons. The Scrapsmith being the main one, but there's no longer the restriction of once per turn, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So you can play 3 Quillbore in one turn and get 3 gems now.
Yeah.
Which I really like, because that was so often a thing you had to think about when you're playing with this card is like, how do I ration my Quillbore so I have 1 Quillbore per turn to not waste these gems? And now you can just be like, oh, I have a bunch of Quillbore, great, slam them on the board. That's a big deal.
Yeah, so you'd say this is a buff.
It's a huge buff, yeah.
No. The people that care about stats, these guys, this is a big nerf. You go from 3/3 to 2/3. How dare they do this? The profit of the board. My one attack. You remember they had this as a 2/3 before, and you know what they said? It's too bad. Let's buff it. So I can't believe they're going back to 2/3. How dare they? But yeah, I would agree with you that this is probably a buff overall. Since once you hit the mid game, the late game, you're being able to play 2 Quillbores and getting multiple gems. Like all you gotta do is play 2 Quillbores twice, and this is better, right? I mean, two Quillbores once a turn, and this is better.
Yeah. So. One turn where you would have tempoed an extra Quillbore, and it's better.
It is better, yeah. So it's very easy.
Way better, because 1 extra attack point on a card you don't care about really versus an extra gem that you can put on a card you do care about is very big difference.
Yeah. Who says I don't care about profit of the board? He's my buddy. But yeah. I would say like past the immediate early game, this is definitely just better for you. So I do think this is a nice buff for profit. Gives it more opportunity to stay on the board longer. And if you have a gold and stuff like that, getting 2 gems a turn is probably better than that Stonesmith that you're running anyway. So you miss well. And then Taragosa technically has no functional change. It just doesn't get taunt or it doesn't keep taunt and double damage from the white main.
Keep enemy enchantments.
Yeah,
that's it basically. So anything your opponent used won't stick on it.
Which is basically white main.
White main, yeah. For now, that's maybe the first one they.
I kind of didn't mind if it kept the enchantment.
No. Because that's horrible design. You don't want to punish people for playing a Taragosa like that.
I was kind of fine with it, but yeah, I feel
like these Taragosa lovers have had it too good for far too long.
Too long. I'm with you, yeah.
No, that's not it, man. Oh, good.
All right, but last change, Mug is back. Magnadri Mug, so it was a Tavern Tier 2, +1/+1 to 3 different minion types. That one has been added back into the minion pool, so kind of nice if you played the 6-drop card. What was it called? The 6/6. The 6/6 that gives you +2/+2. Come on, Shady, you know this.
Wait, sorry, I must have zoned out. Can you
it's a tier 6 card, 6/6 stat line. It gives you +2/+2 to 3 different minions anytime you play a non-minion type minion.
Oh,
Theodore, yes. It's good with Theodore. Yes, that's the card. Thank you. I was like, this card. You play way more than me.
I literally just talked about Theo, right? Like when I talked about
I know. That's why I was saying you know this card. I was like, you play this.
And It's been 3 hours roughly.
Yeah,
So I think
This is maybe one of our longest podcasts.
out for a moment there, but no, yeah, my main man, my main T man, Theodore.
Yeah, he likes mug.
He does.
And I think that's a great statement to end this podcast. I think.
I like Twitch more though. I'll tell you that. But yeah, that's for a different podcast.
Yeah, but yeah, this is definitely a big, like, overall. This is a big patch. I think a lot of good changes, or a lot of fun changes. I was talking to Shady. I was like, I'm sad that there's not going to be a Lobby Legends with this. And then Shady's like, what are you talking about? I'm playing in the qualifiers. I was like, oh yeah,
Gotcha, dude. Like I'm playing my qualifier on this.
yeah. I forgot. Like I was like, oh, I'm done for the year.
Oh yeah, if I make it through, it's probably Lobby Legends on this patch as well. So, anyways.
So yeah, but yeah, I do think a lot of cool changes. A lot of it's been fun to play and trying the new things. Some broken things. I do think they want to take a look at Cthulhu and also the Ball of Minions. Those are the two ones that jump out to me. Some of the quest rewards as well, but it looks like they are adjusting them, right? So they are looking at that as well. So I mean, it's almost guaranteed that not everything's going to be balanced when they make changes like this. Like it's hard to balance it even when you have a lot of good.
It's a sweet patch. It's honestly a sweet patch. Yeah. Like there's so much stuff that happened, and the worst thing is Ball of Minions, I guess, in terms of balance stuff that jumps out. And yeah, okay, it's silly, right? But it's not as silly as it could be. There's other stuff that could be way more silly. Introduce this many changes. So yeah. That's cool. Happy with it. All right, I'm gonna head out.
Yeah, it's late for you. All right, thank you guys for joining us here. Thank you for listening in. You can check us at Educatedcollins at Twitch, and you can check Shady Running Live at Twitch, and send us feedback, HSBG Podcast, Gmail, all that good stuff, and we'll see you guys later. I hope you guys enjoyed this long episode. And have a wonderful night or evening or morning if you're listening to this in the morning. That'd be cool.
See you guys.